friends! Day over day, we pray for something good to play. Just a great game, a trickle from the gods. Something to give us hope, belief. Sometimes it comes from a place in which we don't expect it. Palworld, little monsters doing my bidding. Maybe a couple humans too. Today, my friends, we discuss some of the most darkest deeds. Pokemon with guns, they call it. No, I call it true domination. The throne on which I was meant to sit upon, and I do today. Today, my friends, we discuss some of the nastiest evil things that I've done to these little creatures. But beyond that, we have many other things to discuss. Xbox Direct. Sven Vinka laying down a little bit of law on Ubisoft. Ubisoft, whatever you want to call them. And I'm pretty sure there's a few other things that I completely forgot to bring up at this exact moment right now, but that's fine. Today, my friends, is beautiful Dark Sabbath in gaming. Today, we talk about the greatest games, the greatest of times. Sit, my friends. It is not yet again a beautiful day. I have to actually, oh shit, wrong camera. I have to actually turn my lights on now.
Yeah.
It was worth it. By the way,
it was very dramatic, and I like
chat. It was worth it. Okay.
Yeah. I saw in the chat someone's already asking if Palworld actually came out. Yeah, it came out on the 18th on Steam, and PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass. So yes, it's available.
He's out here.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Just Gaming Podcast with me, your host, Ian, and
DJ Jazzy Mark.
DJ Jazzy Mark. DJ Jazzy Mark. So, yeah. Well, I mean, we start it like we normally do. Mark, what have you been playing?
I've been playing. I've on Act 3 of my Will playthrough. And then, like, today, I woke up at 4 a.m., or actually a little bit earlier than 4 a.m., and I've played Palworld until we started the show about 5 minutes ago. So
Cool.
Yeah.
So I've been all over the place. I've played a little bit of Baldur's Gate. Been playing off stream with our buddy Cody. That's actually gone pretty well. By the way, we absolutely just smashed the Forge Giant, or Forge Golem. I mean, literally made it look like it was a joke. There was a little bit of a danger. There was a little bit of a, who knows where this is going. But outside of that, everything was just fine. So we're continuing on with that. That's been a lot of fun. I played the finals for the first time. We'll just put that one to the side for now. I played, what else did I? Oh, I've been playing Sekiro on stream.
Oh, yes, I did watch that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of backseat driving in that, wasn't there?
I mean, that's
here.
fine.
Hey, go there. And I was like,
yeah. No, well, I mean, here's the thing. When it comes to streaming games, you have to know, like, there's certain things that I do want answers for. So it's really nice when chat does provide that kind of stuff. But for the most part, what I end up doing is I kind of ignore them. For the most part, because there was like, somebody's like, hey, you don't need to go there, and I'm like, I don't. Did you buy this game for me? Because I'm gonna go there.
I'm gonna go do what I want.
I'm gonna go do what I want. And then obviously I've been playing Palworld lately over the last few days since its release. Sekiro's been a trip. It's a really good game.
It's a really good game. It's difficult for me specifically because Like you get so used in Souls games of just dodging or parrying, depending on your build. That's it, right? The game requires you to jump, dodge, and dodge in different directions. Parrying is a big deal in this game. It's a huge deal in this game. And if you're not good at it, you're not going to be good at the game. So
yeah. Which
that's where I'm at.
For the most part, I've taken to the parrying pretty well. Overall, I think I've done pretty good. Obviously, like fighting like the butterfly maiden or whatever is like just really tough. It's really tough. It's definitely your first like run into your first wall. And then when you overcome that, that's when you're really gonna start be going like in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
But outside of that, I fought the chained
ogre.
Oh yeah, I didn't have any much of a problem with him.
Yeah, I'm stuck on the dude on the horse.
Yeah, beat him. I think. For people that were there from chat, I'm pretty sure it only took me probably like 3 or 4 attempts.
Oh, okay.
On that guy.
Awesome, great. Yeah.
That was actually it ended in a really cool way too. I'll have to find the clip for it or something like that. But it was like I like yelled at myself. I'm like don't panic, because I started to greed and I was low on health, and I just like parried and then like just finished him really quick. So that was a cool fight. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's definitely something to take. It's going to take a little time getting used to, because what I've learned, especially when it comes to like Souls games specifically, is that like it takes a while for you to get into the groove. That's all I can say. Like it just takes a while to get into the groove. Yeah. They're not games that you just sit down and you're intuitively like back in the flow of it. Learning when and how to time iframe dodges, learning how different mechanics in the game works, especially a game like Sekiro, especially with how hard like how it's all about the posture system and stuff. Yeah. That's definitely something that takes a little bit of time to get used to. And one of the things that like kept frustrating me, and I'm like yelling at myself while I'm dying to the same boss for 3 hours, is like my brain still isn't mapped to the controls, because I play a lot of different games. So I keep jumping when I want to dodge, and I keep dodging when I want to jump. And then sometimes there's other controls that pop up every once in a while that are from other games. I'm like, why did I just hit right trigger to dodge? What game is that from? And I know that there's games that I play where right trigger is dodge, especially because I've played a lot of like roguelites, and roguelites usually kind of lean on those kind of controls, right? So yeah, no, it's been good though. It's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to playing more of it for sure. I think that the streams for the most part over the next week are going to be a little ADHD, because I want to play a lot of different stuff. I want to continue with Sekiro, but I also want to play some Palworld.
Dude, I'm telling you. It is so good. It is so good. And like a lot of people are asking in the chat, I think it's $29.99 on Steam, might be less.
Yeah.
It's early access, so it's got its quirks, but nothing that's like, it runs smooth for a game in early access. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it runs really smooth.
Yep. So. We're already at 44 people live just at the start. Beautiful.
Live.
I absolutely love to see that. Hello, Jackie, Wicked Witch, Bernie, Kevin, Victoria, Orsic, Timmy. Always good to have Timmy here. Antonio, Gaming Fire, of course. Make sure that if you guys get the opportunity to, please press like on the video. Let's try to get as many people in here as we can. Now, we're just gonna hit it up right off the bat, okay? Let's just go ahead and dive right into Palworld, because I'm going to introduce this in a way that will probably make a lot of sense for most people. Palworld was a game that was on my radar. I knew about it. Obviously, everybody knew about it. Pokemon with guns. Everybody said it. Everybody's seen it. But I would imagine, especially over the last few years, with a lot of games that have come out that have not actually been real games.
Yeah.
That this was on my list of games that I was like, this is probably not going to be real. Like, and if it does come out, it's probably going to be, like whatever. Because like they tried to make, I think, Craftopia, which I played.
Yeah. Craftopia? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Which was a game that they just like, it had some like cool ideas, but it was also like a lot of like, we'll say colorful plagiarism. And just like a bunch of weird stuff put together, but the game really didn't have a whole lot of direction. And I understand that it's kind of ish in a better place than it was before, but it wasn't really like finished.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a whole lot of faith in the studio or the project or anything like that. And yeah, D7, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. So with that said, I wasn't really paying attention to it.
Yeah.
I mean, when it did come out, and then my friends were like, "Yeah, it's good. It's actually good," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna go try it now." And then I picked it up, and I'm like, "Where did the time go?"
Yeah, I mean, if you remember the first trailer that we ever saw for it, it was a while back. But the way that they like sizzle reeled it, it honestly looked like a hero shooter more than it did like what the game actually is.
A survival craft.
A survival craft game. And so I was like, yeah, that's cool, because they're like sliding around the ground, guns are shooting everywhere, it looked like a completely different game. So I was pleasantly surprised when I found out what it was when I started playing it. You know what I mean? And I'm not huge into the survival genre as much as you are. And I can't stop playing this game. I honestly can't stop playing this game. It's just like everywhere you look, you want to go there and see what's over there. And like I've been just farming eggs and hatching stuff, and it's just
the game's gone like genuinely viral since its release. Yeah. Because I think I already saw a quote saying it's already sold 4 million copies already.
Yeah,
in its first 24 hours.
1 million in 8 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pumping, and it's pumping hard. And the studio and this is good for the studio, because I mean they're getting their payday for the work that they've done. And as a result of that, I'm hoping that this translates into like massive support for the game.
I'm hoping, yeah. We'll see.
Like my big worry when it comes to developers, like smaller developers like this, lesser known developers like this, that they I mean, even AAA publishers could do this, where they just take the payday and walk away. Yep. And I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case. I hope that they pump this game, because honestly, I do think that it has legs.
It does have legs. I mean, shit.
Beyond just being an instant fad, right? Like, because obviously it's fashionable to play the game right now, but it actually has legs. There's a whole lot of discussions that spring forth because of this game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's viral. What it hit 855,000 concurrent players on Steam.
Rest in peace, Baldur's Gate 3, dead game.
Yeah, dead game. Dead game. But I mean, it's amazing that it did pop off. It's like it almost hitting that perfect timing of when it released, of a gap between games. You know what I mean? So everybody wants to try something new. I think Microsoft was pretty smart to get them to put it on Game Pass.
Yeah,
like that's super smart. Even though everyone on PC is buying it on Steam and not playing it on Game Pass PC.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different discussions that pops up from this, and I'm already seeing people in chat asking about some of the controversies, the game getting canceled, and things like that. We are going to be getting into that really soon. But what I want to do first is I want to just talk about general impressions of the game before we dive into any of the greasy bits, okay? So here's the thing. I love survival games. I fucking eat, sleep, and breathe them. I love them so much. Whether that's been, even to like some extent, Terraria kind of fits into that zone. I've enjoyed playing Minecraft in the past. I enjoyed playing Raft, Valheim,
Vampire Survivor. Kidding, it's not. V-Rising.
V-Rising, yeah. So this is definitely a genre that I've always enjoyed, and I love playing these kind of games. It's just fun. It's fun to build up your arsenal and build up your base and stuff like that. I am a little bit of a build nut, so this game doesn't scratch the build itch. I'm actually mad right now because my base is like so unorganized, and the game isn't really intuitively built for you to be able to move. You can't move things. If you build something, if you want to move it, you have to destroy it. And I hate that so much, because it's like, well, I just want to move it over here. And like, say if I want to move my base, I don't even think that's possible, because you'd have to literally you'd have to break down your thing that makes your base. And then I have to move each piece basically over to wherever I want to go. And that's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah. Well, it looks like as you level up, we'll be able to make another base. But that's assuming that they do that in the early access.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with that kind of stuff. I did see that if you have a guild, you're technically able to have, like, you will be able to go and make a base somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay.
So that means that we could, like, set up one base together at first and then go find a next place where we want to be able to farm like ore and do like all of our refining for ore and stuff like that somewhere else, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's really cool. Now with that said, the game does exploration just as good as experiences that I've had with games like Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim or Oblivion. Same thing goes for, Tears of the Kingdom or, Legend of Zelda. They do this really good. Like, what's that? What's that? Yeah. What's that thing over there? What's that thing in the distance? And the nice thing is that thing actually exists and you can just go there. Yep. You just go. I mean, go for it. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have food and probably some form of transportation. But the game does. I really actually like that they include a fast travel system because it makes it where travel isn't necessarily something that is so
arduous.
It's not necessarily arduous. Yeah, arduous probably, but also like it's not super threatening either. Like it's trying to, coax you into going and looking and checking some stuff out, right? And I think that's really cool.
I think the only while traveling, because what I'm doing is I'm running around on a mount, just going and unlocking all the travel quick spots and boss fights encounters, and just keep going. The only people or things that have like actively attacked me are the humans in the game. They're the only ones that just like are triggered and start shooting at you immediately. You know what I mean? So like the pals, not not Pokemon, the pals. They're not like hyper aggressive.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different things. Like the one thing that stands out obviously from the beginning for me is just like how well the game runs.
It is. It runs really smooth. Like
it's not just optimized, it's hyper optimized.
Yeah, it runs really, really well. My only I mean, we talked about it before we got on air. Like the only things that I've ran into were just like early access bugs, like my stamina bar completely running out and then not filling back up. So I had to just basically go to menu and go back in. And it was perfectly fine. Yeah, little small stuff like that. But I'm not getting any like jaggies. I'm not getting screen tearing. I'm not getting any of that. It's pretty amazing.
And I had a bug where I was getting ambushed. Like there was a raid coming at my base, and I threw out one of my pals, and it immediately started spawning an infinite number of rocks at an increasingly faster rate. Like it just like rocks just started shooting out of it all over the place, and then the game started to lag to the point where it almost crashed, and then I just like withdrew the monster, and everything was fine. But yeah. So like I mean, outside of like early access goofy stuff, I think that like the crafting is just as intuitive as any other crafting game that you're gonna play. I like that they give you some direction by at least giving you like a little quest log that and then further than that, once you've done that, your actual PAL like containment thing, whatever it is, PAL container or whatever it is, that will have its own like mini meta game as well, right? It's like, hey, make this and make this. Well, it's like, well, I don't have these materials. That means I need to go look for them, right? So that's really nice. I like games that have that kind of thing because it gives you a sense of like constant progression, something to be able to chase, and like when you need those certain things.
So Drake kind of said it too. It's like they took a lot of, because he's been playing it too. They took a lot of good ideas from a lot of different survival games and put them all in this game. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things to do, because I'm not big on building and I kind of hate crafting as well. I just as a gamer, I just don't like it. And this game, it makes it so much easier for me because you can get your pals like farming all your stuff for most of whatever you need.
Yeah.
And then when I go to craft it, I don't have to actually have it in my inventory to do it. And that is pulling it from my storage box, which
you don't even have to have any organization in your base at all where you're storing things. Just make sure that you have enough places to store things.
Yeah. So like me and you will never get into that argument like we always do when we play these games. Like, you need to put it in that chest. I put a sign on that chest specifically for you to put that in that chest. And then I'll just go put random stuff in the chest just to watch you do that face. And it's so good. It's so good.
See, I'm still gonna want some level of organization, regardless, because there are things that you're gonna want to be able to get a hold of that you need to take with you, right? Like if I need food to be in the food chest. Right, I don't want to go. The food. I put a couple pieces of steak in the rock chest, and there's an egg that's over there in this other chest.
This game has fixed our argument.
It has not.
You get a feed sack that you carry with you. Yes, it's a sack that just holds food, so it doesn't take up your inventory. I've got one.
Yeah, I know, but food also it's perishable.
Well,
so you have to store it, and then. Jesus Christ! Seriously.
The perishable, you got to make the refrigerator to keep it from perishing.
Yes, and then you need an ice type pal to freeze it, and then anyway. So, but regardless, I think it's really intuitive. It takes out one of the things that makes survival games or gives survival games a barrier to entry that a lot of players don't want to get through, which is the actual like running of the base and like keeping your materials and stuff like that pumping. Since basically you're using, your PAL power to be able to overcome this, it helps out a lot. It's really cool. So I'm a huge fan of the way that they've done that. I think one of the things that's really promising is that with all of the different elements that they've already put into the game, you can already see the track of like where the game is going to go.
Yeah.
And like the things that they're planning to do for the game in the future. And I think that's a really big deal too.
It is a really big deal. I like it, man. Like I saw someone in the chat say arc, right? Because I guess the UI is similar. And there's some things with the UI that I don't like. I don't like when I go into the, what is it? From the build, whenever it pulls up the radial dial, your mouse actually can't click any of the deals, but if you tab, you can click the tabs. That kind of irritates me. But this game, it runs. I would liken it more to Fortnite than I would to Ark, to be honest with you.
Oh no, you can't even play Ark without mods.
Yeah, like
this, Ark isn't even a functional or enjoyable game without modding the game. This is functional and enjoyable without any mods.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's pretty cool. Did you so I got a question before we go into more on it. So on the building, getting super irritated trying to put in like stairs in your house is a nightmare. Trying to put an angle on your roof like this, it'll do this one like this, right? And then the other one, it'll face over this way. It will not let you. It will not let you do this.
I didn't really have too much of a problem with building. The only thing that I'm noticing with building is that in a lot of cases, like structural pieces don't necessarily line up with the ground like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I can put like a piece of flooring here, and then if the ground on this side is just like a little bit like angled, then all of a sudden the next piece doesn't just automatically connect. It's like flipped upside down. It doesn't know like what to do with it. These are minor things that they're going to be able to fix just like
it's a polished thing.
Game. That's just it's a polished thing more than anything else.
I got a three-story home.
Oh,
hacienda.
Whoa. So I have a small house with a large porch.
Are your pals sleeping outside?
Yes.
You are the worst.
They're wild animals.
You are the worst.
I'm basically just trying to recreate their own natural habitat with work for them to do.
Feed them?
They feed themselves.
See? Yeah, you're terrible. You don't like do the whole come up to them and pet them and feed them? You don't do any of that?
No. Instead, if I see that like it says that they're slacking off or they don't like their work conditions, I just kill them.
That is so wrong.
Yeah,
but I've done it too. I picked them up and threw them off the side of the cliff right there.
Yeah. I named my world Bezos World.
Oh, you've been here for 2 years? Throw them out.
Yeah, you're done, son. So yeah. I mean, there's like some obvious like small optimization stuff that they're going to be able to do as they just kind of rein the game in. I definitely want to see, you know, more variety in monsters and stuff like that too. I think the game does a really good job at just directing you and moving you in a direction so that you can just continue to keep exploring, finding new stuff, finding new monsters. I like the technology points and ancient technology points kind of progression tree. Yeah. That's really cool. How many dungeons have you done?
2. I've only done 2. I've spent most of my time just kind of building my camp up and building up unlocking technology and that type of stuff, and not really spending a whole lot of time doing the dungeons.
Okay, so I've done a few of them. One thing that's obviously a major criticism, but hopefully it's something that changes as they continue to update the game and work on it, is that they like the cave dungeons are always the exact same, except for there's different loot at the very end, and then there's like a different boss at the very end as well. But outside of that, the actual design of dungeons that I've done so far, which I've done like 5 or 6 or something like that, they've all been the exact same.
Yeah, I mean, they went the Diablo 4 route, except for added different bosses.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean,
so yeah. So I like to see a little bit more variety there. Did you take down your first boss, the tower boss?
Yeah, I did. I took him down before we came on stream. Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
It's pretty awesome. I like okay. So when you first go in there and you see that, you know, it's basically the chick from Pokemon, and she jumps on a bigger Pikachu and starts riding around, right? I was like, okay, this is going to be easy. And she probably kicked my ass twice. And then that's when you're like, hey, get a crossbow. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I did that. And no, the fight actually, it's smart. Depending on how you use your pals, Pokemon, you make the fight easier or harder for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just played a little bit smarter. I was too old for Pokemon, so this is like my first Pokemon game, or I mean, PAL game.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm learning the ins and outs. Yeah, creature collector. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've taken on 2 world bosses. You know, the little pop up ones.
Yep.
I wanted to cap it, but of course my pal waxed it. Right, you know, because you got to work them down to almost the last hit, right?
Yep.
And then
basically.
And then your pal's like, I'm gonna finish him, and then you just don't get to get him. So
yeah, I mean, you guys are seeing it on screen right now, but like the more difficult enemies or monsters that you find, some of them have like faster attack patterns. So like this one that was just on screen here, I'll like rewind it a little bit. They have faster attack patterns. They will attack immediately after they pop out of a ball if like you fail the catch. And like actually trying to catch them is a massive challenge because some of these guys like hit like a truck. Like this one almost killed me. I was down to the last bit of my health. You can't really see it on screen, but you can see that it's starting to glow red because I'm like critical health. But yeah, no, because it's like in a lot of situations you have to try to do your best to try to pull your monster back because they're just going to finish off whatever you're trying to fight. And just try to weather the storm and get it in that damn ball.
Dude, I know, like once I see that it's like 75%, I was like, I gotcha, bitch. I gotcha.
Yeah. So with that said, yeah, I've had a lot of fun just kind of trying to find different ones. It's always interesting to see like how some are really good at some things, some are really good at other things. It's always awesome when you find one that is like just a real hard worker.
Yeah. Yeah, my Depresso, he is a hard worker. I mean, you look at him and you can tell he hates his life. But man, he doesn't even sleep. I'll go to camp at night. He's the only one out there just clanking away.
Yeah, I got a dark bat that basically works through the night. So I see where you could technically, I love this idea that they came up with where you could technically have like nocturnal monsters as well as shift, as well as day shift. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they can kind of just change back and forth or change back and forth. But beyond that, I really like that I have this one called Blaze Ram, I think is what it is. It has like level 4 crafting.
Ooh.
So I'm like, oh, I need 200 arrows. That thing's just like there you go, son. And I'm like, damn, okay, here we go. It makes me sad because he's actually really strong in combat, but
Did you capture him?
Leave him at bait. I leave him at that thing?
Son of a gun. Yeah, that's the one I wanted.
Yeah, I got him. Yeah.
I killed him.
Yeah, you can ride him. He's actually pretty quick, to be honest. I like it. I capture this thing too. Oh, this fight's super funny. So I also captured this other boss as well. I'm gonna pull it out right here. No, not him. I want to pull out the other one. Come on now. It's the king of what is it called? It's like the Llama King. King Paka. Look at this thing.
King Paka.
Look at this thing, dude. It's huge. It's just look at the way it attacks. It has these like little tiny legs, and when I put it in battle, it just jumps and just like flattens on top of monsters. It's so funny to watch. But I also like the idea that they use in this game as well, where like monsters will have like different abilities that will help you just in general exploration. So like King Paka, as an example, he's really good at carrying a lot of stuff. So just having him in your party increases your carrying capacity by like I think 100 or something like that. Wow. I can't remember what the number is. So, it makes monsters like him really valuable. Sometimes you're going to have monsters that you want to have in your party that you're never going to use in combat, that you just want to have on you. Yeah. And that's really cool. I like that idea because it almost acts like the monsters are a part of your equipment. Yeah. So while you already have like all of this different equipment on the character, well, you have all this, you have the monsters are also providing, other passives to either make exploration easier, to make combat easier, all kinds of different stuff. I think that's a really, really unique feature of the game that I really like.
I think so. I got a kingpin, which he's a penguin that's large, like that llama, but he's dressed like a pirate. He's pretty sweet. He's a pretty sweet guy.
Yeah. So let's get to the obvious part of the discussion that people really, really want to get into on this one, right? And that is a lot of the controversy that surrounds this game. And this is where things are this is where things get a little bit funny, okay? And that's that gamers have a really bad understanding of copyright law. They think that because two things look similar, that it could be that there could be a lawsuit following. But copyright law is actually pretty muddy, and they're not in any trouble. Nope. And the reason why I say that is that, do you think? Well, I can just give you a small bit of proof. Do you think Xbox would have put it on Game Pass?
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think Xbox would have paid these guys to put it on Game Pass if they thought that they were going to be stricken with copyright law? No.
Steam wouldn't either.
No. And here's the thing. Just as one thing. So like, Game Freak doesn't own the intellectual property of collecting games, of monster collecting games or anything like that. Monster battling games. Otherwise, games like Digimon wouldn't exist. There was a couple other ones too that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Not very good ones,
that there's been other games that have replicated, the Pokemon DNA in the past, and they had monsters that had striking similarities to monsters in Pokemon. Yeah. And while they did have some that were those games had more monsters that were much more distinct than the ones that we see in in Palworld. It's just enough that it would technically fall into the realm of parody.
Yeah.
And they still can't do anything about it.
For a copyright to happen, it has to be a 1-to-1 ratio, or it has to be a patented part, like a specific part of something.
Right.
And I have yet to run. Don't get me wrong. I did capture their version of Pikachu. He's yellow with black lightning bolts on him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a tail.
Lightning bolt tail.
He's got a lightning bolt tail, but he does not look like Pikachu.
But the face, the ears, the body structure is completely different from the character, so it's a parody. And when you parody things, it doesn't work like that. So even though there might be a possibility that maybe Nintendo does try to lay the hammer down And while Nintendo does have a massive amount of lawyers and they can overpower people, I don't think that they have enough of a case here to try to make a move. Otherwise, they would have done the same.
They already would have.
They would have already taken down Koromon. They would have already taken down Temtem. They would have already taken down Digimon back in the day. They would have taken down any of these other creature collector games that have been going that we've had throughout history. The only difference, and the only reason why a lot of people are paying attention to Palworld is because, one, there's a lot of striking similarities between the monsters, but there's enough variety that this will skirt that completely, any copyright law or anything like that.
That and people are advertising it as Pokemon with guns. So
people are, but the company's not.
Yeah, the people are, but the companies aren't. Yes.
Right.
And so that's what's getting the gamers and people like that in a tough, is because, you know, they don't want their beloved Pokemon to be used and abused in the way that they are in this game.
Don't forget the Japanese companies, if there will be any lawsuits, will be definitely decided in Japanese jurisdiction. That's if they're selling it in Japan. So that would still be decided in a Japanese market. However, whatever's decided in a Japanese market isn't decided for the entire world. A really good example of this is Dark and Darker. Right? So it's not just like, oh, well, because Japan decided it, well, now all of a sudden every other country has to follow it. That's not necessarily how that works. And copyright law is different in every single country. So technically you could try to take it anywhere. But at the same time, it's only the gamers and people speculating, not a word, peep, or anything from Nintendo or Game Freak. It's literally just people like, oh my God, they're like copying Pokemon. They're totally going to get sued. With what evidence? What evidence do you think that they're going to get sued? None. Yeah. There has been no discussion. This game has been in the works. Nintendo hasn't said a word about the game, even when they showed off the initial trailers. And typically, copyright doesn't happen. If they're going to take people to court, it doesn't happen after the game's release. They usually nip it in the bud before the game ever has a chance to ruin their brand's image or something like that.
Yeah,
and we've seen that. We've seen that with again, Dark and Darker is a really good example of this. They tried to stop them before the game's actual release. It was still in alpha phase, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing that Nintendo can really be mad about is the fact that this game runs better than their last Pokemon game, their open world Pokemon game, like significantly better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was watching Asmon play it, and I guess somebody in his chat said Nintendo wants you to stop calling them Pokemon. As a joke, but that is pretty hilarious.
And here's the thing, I could see them wanting to say something about that specifically because they do not want their brand to be associated with another product that is definitely not aimed at children.
No, it is not.
Right? So I could see that, but beyond that, again, this is literally just gamers being gamers and stirring up drama, thinking that there's going to be this massive lawsuit. And personally, I don't think there's going to be one because while there is striking similarities, a lot of the things, and I've seen the Twitter threads already. I've already seen the Pokemon community mauling over this game and talking about how it needs to get thrown out. I've seen Kotaku make articles about how it glorifies, animal cruelty and stuff like that. At the end of the day, with 4 million copies sold in 24 hours, look who actually gives a fucking shit. Nobody. If a game's fun and enjoyable, people are going to play it. Simple as that. There's no morality in any of that kind of situation.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know how the devs have a sense of humor? Is they put PETA in the game? They're called the PAL protectors.
Yeah, the PAL protectors. So it's one of those things where I think people are like, oh well, they would have a case, but the problem is that when I go and I look at all the the most popular Twitter threads talking about like, oh look how they stole this and this and this and this. Well, the thing is that. It's only a part, and that part isn't copyrighted. The whole character would be be copyrighted.
Yep.
So yeah, this thing has flowers around its neck. Well, but did they steal its face? Did they steal its body? Did they steal its tail? Did they steal the whole thing? No. Well, then they could classify that as a parody, and then they're completely fine.
Yeah. And I think where a lot of people are getting confused is because the art styles are similar. You know what I mean? Of the actual PALs versus Pokemon, the art style is similar, but the body, the architecture of each body is not the same. It's just not.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Right.
You can tell, like Ian keeps hitting the word parody. You can tell that it's a parody of a character.
100%.
Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's Pikachu.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I've seen Pikachu Bellossom. I've seen Blaziken. I've seen definitely inspirations of characters from Pokemon. But outside of that, that's just about it. And I've also seen a bunch of people crying about AI art being used in the game. I'm sorry, but shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up. If they, okay, so let's say, like, one, you know, this isn't a, they had to still animate and make the character in game. Like, they still made the character. And we don't even know if they did in the first place. This is just a bunch of pissed off people on Twitter calling a fucking Pokemon ripoff that are the ones that are saying that they were using AI. I haven't seen anything from the developer themselves saying that they used AI to generate these characters. They're just speculating over this shit. It's so fucking dumb. God, it pisses me off. It's so stupid. And even if they did, they still took that initial drawing that they created with AI and then rigged it, made it, and shaded it and did all the work that they needed to do to actually put it into Unreal Engine and then put it into the game and make it a functioning character. So are you just going to say none of that would be worth it? And then also on top of that, who fucking cares? 4 million people bought the game.
The game
shows you how much people really care about the art style. Like
the game's fun. Like,
and by the way, I don't want people taking this out of context. Like I'm saying that like artists don't have any value. Artists have insane amount of value because if it wasn't for them, the AI art wouldn't even fucking exist in the first place. But with that said, like in a situation like this, if they're using it for their inspiration to make their character models in the game, and then they're probably taking some type of like, hey, thank you for the raid, man. Appreciate that, Deuce Brixon with the 5-man raid. But with that said, like, fuck them. Fuck them. If you're making your money, go make your money, dog.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like I like it's one of those things. Like, do you really care? I mean, the game's fun. The game plays great. I'm having a blast. I don't care if they use black magic to make these characters. I don't care if they sacrifice small children. The game's good. The game's just good. So. I'm not going to say all the F words though.
I mean, it's literally just Pokecraft, transparent cash grab. But I guess it's working. Well, it's beyond working. And see, that's the thing. A lot of the opinions that I'm seeing from people that are criticizing the game are people that haven't even played it yet.
Yeah.
And what they're failing to realize is that it's actually fun and really enjoyable. And there's just a whole huge level of there's so many different discussions that pop up from this because this is also a developer that's filling a need that's been there for 20 years. Keep in mind, Pokemon as a genre is like the entry to like not every single, but most are like millennial RPG players. They got started playing Pokemon first. Yep. For a lot of people, is their entry into playing games in the first place.
Yep.
However, it's a brand that didn't ever grow up with those people, right? And which means that eventually we grow out of it. And I think that that's fair, that there's going to be things that we grow out of. But certain franchises should try to still, I don't know, grow up with their fan bases. And maybe try to be able to serve both crowds because you're going to have people that are going to still kind of want to play the game.
Yeah. And Pokemon, from what I've understood, from all the research I've ever done on it, it has stagnated for its fans. It's just kind of stagnated, and that's why they tried to start doing these open world games and stuff like that because it was a stagnant formula. You know what I mean? And like this game pulls it off a lot better than they did. It just does. Yeah, and I'm seeing people like people have asked, they're like, well, who's this developer anyway? Who's the publisher? At the end of the day, this is the thing that I've been trying to preach this for so long. Nobody cares if it's a fun game. If it's a fun game, nobody cares who made it. Nobody cares if the games that they made before were absolute ass or they were cash grabs or they were whatever. Because if I'm enjoying the game today, then I already got my value out of the game. Yeah. I don't. Like I said,
and that's my hard stance on something like this. If the day before was a complete and functioning game that was good, nobody would give an absolute shit about how many times that developer had schemed and scammed before they created the game.
Yeah.
Nobody would have cared. But because the game was bad and it was very much just a rug pull, then yeah, everybody's mad about it. But if you make a game that's good and people enjoy it and they actually they're getting their money out of it, then nobody cares who the developer is.
It's almost like with the developer love, it's almost like a weird kind of worship. You know what I mean? Like there aren't any developers that I just like, I can't wait for their next game. Can't wait for their next game just because it's them. You know what I mean? Like it's almost worshipy. I get it, especially when a developer just puts out fire after fire after fire. You build up that trust with that developer. I get it. But like Ian's saying, if the game's good, it doesn't matter if like people from the White House made this. It doesn't matter who made the game. It's a good game. It's just fun to play.
And you know what the funny thing is that also is so reflective of AAA companies at the same time, because we have AAA companies that we still buy games from, and they have fucked us for years. But apparently that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Diablo 4 comes out and we're all, you know what I mean? Like everybody's like Blizzard bad, and then Diablo 4 comes out and it's one of the biggest selling games of 2023. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, you know, why does it? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That is true, Toasty. Even if they do stop developing the game right now, it is still worth $30.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point for people to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's and on top of that, it's an Unreal Engine 5 game. It's going to be highly moddable, like especially if you look at like the modding community of a game like Ark Survival, which isn't even functional out of the fucking box. You know what I mean? Where you actually have like a really good. Oh, dude, people are going to go nuts with this game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. They did have some problems with server issues. At launch, they weren't expecting it to go as big as it would.
Probably not.
But because they are using the Unreal Engine, I guess they have some sort of relationship with Epic, and Epic's going to be helping them out with the server issues. So that's kind of cool. That and Xbox actually doesn't have any dedicated servers, which is why the player count on Xbox is set to 4 instead of 32 on PC. Not that PC's better, but it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But I personally, so this is just from my point of view as somebody that's been enjoying the game. I've been having a really good time with playing it. I'm looking forward to playing it with friends and stuff like that. This opens up a really cool idea for a lot of other developers to get into at one point in time, to realize that there is a market of older players that want to play creature collectors, but none of the creature collector games are made to suit older audiences. Yeah. I was talking to Jax about this, and she was like, this is scratching both my nostalgic itch for Pokemon and also my more, matured gamer sensibility of playing, more modern style games that have like, crafting or extreme violence. It's scratching these different itches that we didn't necessarily like. We knew we had, but that bridge wasn't getting crossed, and this is a bridge that's now getting crossed. And there's going to be other developers that are going to take note of this, and they're going to look at it and go, why didn't we think about doing this?
Yeah.
And the same thing can actually be said. The same thing, and this is the other context to keep in mind too, is that the same thing can be said for Game Freak, because they have been consistently providing their audience with a lesser and lesser product year over year over year over year. Even for the people that still play their games, even though they're older now and still play them. But beyond that, they have not put forth what I would imagine is like a AAA Pokemon game.
Yeah.
I played Sword and Shield. It was okay. It's just because it had been a really long time since I played a Pokemon game, and I just got a Switch, and I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. It's all right. I had no interest in playing, was it Violet?
I think whatever the open world one was.
Violet and whatever it is. And most of my friends were like, yeah, it's just not even worth it. The game runs like absolute ass and yada, yada, yada. So,
yeah.
And then also at the same time, you have to think about this. There's also an audience outside of people that want to own a Nintendo Switch, that want to play a game like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It kind of, okay. So people in the chat are still kind of talking about the rip-off part of it. Do you remember the game Paladins? Anybody? No? So it came out shortly after Overwatch did, and it was 100% Overwatch characters. 100%. Like they made them art different, but the voices were a little bit similar. Like the Torbjorn character talk like Torbjorn, threw down turrets. You know what I mean? Almost everything matchy. Yeah, that's a knockoff. I don't feel like this is a knockoff. I think the art style's the similar, and just because they're small, cutesy animals doesn't make them Pokemon. That's just it just doesn't. So, yeah.
They've done enough to make sure that it would be classified as parody, because nobody's going to try to go into business at this scale and also be accepted by Xbox to be on Game Pass and not have done their homework to make sure that they're not going to be jumping into, foreign waters, and they're going to get into issues with legal issues or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. And I get people want to make a bet in 2 to 3 months. People won't even. What does it matter? If people are having fun right now, what does it matter? I don't understand. Like I think it's fine to enjoy games as they are right now. I don't understand why people want to be so negative about this game's release. It just doesn't.
It's been out for 3 days. Okay, you've already got the highest Steam concurrent. Oh, not the highest, but it's up there. And it's going to continue to go as long as people are going to be talking about it word of mouth. It's going to catch fire. This game is going to be pretty big.
Well, the thing is, at the end of the day, you're also going to have people that within, I don't know, let's say 2 to 3 months, 4 months from now on Steam, it's going to be at like 100 concurrent players. And then the people are going to be like, told you, dead game. And it's like, what the fuck are you actually talking about? Every game does that. What, Elden Ring, dead game. Baldur's Gate 3 had 888 concurrent players on Steam. Now it has 270,000 concurrent players on Steam. Dead game. Dead game. Must not have been that good, actually. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, dude, every single game goes through the same kind of thing. 2 to 3 months. I mean, mind you, now Baldur's Gate 3 is still completely relevant, 6 months after its release. Talk about a tank.
Calm down.
Talk about a tank.
No, and like, not all gamers consume games the same. Like not everyone's gonna sit there like me. I'll put a lot of hours into a game. Some people will play until they get their feel of it, and then they'll move on to something else. And that's when you have your fall off on stuff. A dead game is a game like, let's see. There's been plenty of shooters that come out and then it immediately just drops down to 500 concurrent. That would be a dead, like an online game like that. That's a dead game.
So if you go ahead. Finish.
If you got an online game and you're still getting 100,000 people playing it, it's a pretty good game.
Okay. So I'm just going to use this as because there are a few people in chat that are kind of on that line of the fence, right? They're debating on the other side. Bad game, don't pay attention to it. Bad devs, abandoned their last game, not complete. Obviously, indie developer, small team. We keep that stuff in context, right? This is not a AAA developer. This is not Ubisoft. This is not EA. This is not Blizzard, Activision, etc. So sometimes, and they wouldn't be the only company that's put out a game that didn't get finished, especially if you're looking at games that are in the indie realm. Mostly because maybe the money wasn't actually made for them to finish making the game in the first place. Who knows? We don't know we don't know internally what's going on there. And that's not apologizing, by the way. That's just talking about the reality of the situation. Let's say that Palworld doesn't ever update itself. What the game is today is exactly what the game is going to be a year from now. Still worth $30.
Yep.
Does it matter? If people enjoyed it, had a good time playing it, played it for a few months, company never updated it, they put the game down. Is it the worst game ever? Is it the worst developer ever? Is it the worst situation that's ever happened in video games? Is it no? People enjoyed it. They had a good time with it. It ran itself through the news cycle. A bunch of people enjoyed playing it and stuff like that. Who cares? If it was worth the $30 for you to play it and you enjoyed it, and the community of people that played it enjoyed it, there's nothing to say. Okay.
I'm also curious. I mean, we know they sold 8 million copies. I wonder how much how lucrative that Microsoft deal was for them. You know what I mean? To be on Game Pass. So they probably made some money hand over fist on this game. So I honestly think they're going to keep going, especially as much as it catches fire. So
probably. Well, that's the other thing too. I would imagine that depending on how many concurrent players they pull out on Xbox as well, like their Xbox is probably going to put a lot of pressure on them to be like, hey, get to work.
Yeah. I mean, I was shocked. Okay, so I played it. I've still got to buy it on Steam. But I played it I'm playing it through Game Pass on PC. And you know how it has like the auto-generated player name? When you start your game. Mm-hmm. I was player 640. That seemed pretty low. I thought that seemed pretty low. I'd like to see what it is like. Make a new character now and see what the
it's gonna be through the roof. Yeah. I think that all too often over the last few years that a lot of us have become doomers about gaming.
Yeah,
and we pray for the downfall. Like we are so jaded. We just pray for the downfall. I hope it fails. I hope Nintendo, the company. I hope that Game Freak goes like, because there's people that hope that Game Freak sues them, the game goes into the dirt because it's, maybe it's making fun of a franchise that they like or something like that, or maybe that it's a game that doesn't suit their taste, or it's not a game that they personally would enjoy, but they don't like that all these other people that are enjoying it or something like that, because sometimes when we don't like something, we want it to fail, which is a kind of a weird cognitive dissonance kind of thing going on there. But
it is.
With that said, we really have to fucking stop that. Like, we should want to hope for the best. We don't expect the best. We don't pre-order it. We don't pre-purchase. We wait to see really good example. I'm playing Palworld. Did I play Palworld the day that it came out? No, I played it. Yeah, the day it came out on Steam. But I only played it because I had every single person that I trust tell me that they were having a lot of fun playing the game. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, well, I'll give it a shot then. Simple as that.
Tunnel ask, do you guys think this is the type of game that fits the model, talking about Game Pass, more of a subscription service rather than a buy game? So that's kind of a nuanced question because it's kind of a nuanced answer. But Game Pass itself, to have a game in early access, so the developers getting money from Microsoft for it to be in early access, is likened to what Larion did with Baldur's Gate 3, to where they had it in early access and people could purchase the game. So instead of people purchasing the game, Microsoft is covering that cost. So that's helping them develop that game further. So yeah, I do think early access model is actually probably pretty good for Microsoft service, and it helps fill some of those gaps in between their first party game titles. So I think it's a good fit for it.
Yeah, I think so too. This is also like one of those, like, even though like I'm not a big fan of like, subscription services. I don't want subscription services to become the dominant way that we interact with games. However, like I think like games like this are perfect for subscription services. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is exactly the kind of stuff that you'd want from a subscription service, because it's a game that you aren't really necessarily sure, what the future of the game is going to be like. You don't know how, you don't know if you're going to like it or not. You don't know if it's going to be something that you're going to enjoy. You don't know if it's something you're going to play for a little while or for a long time.
Or if playing something it's a like genre this you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and playing something, or if it's a genre that you like. That's a really good example with you. You don't even like crafting games. You don't like any of that stuff.
Nope.
So, yeah. So it's one of those things. It definitely does fit into that realm. That's probably where games like this should go. I definitely like that for this. But at the same time, depending on, I'm not one of the people that likes to try to put like a dollar value to my experience and say whether or not a game is like, oh, I give it a dollar per hour value. If I can get 70 hours out of the game, then then that's a good game. I don't really say that because I could play 70 hours of a game and not enjoy it, or find it memorable, and that obviously has a completely different value on it than another experience would, right? Like Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like I stole from Larion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I stole from Larion. I got Baldur's Gate 3 for $30 when it was on sale in early access.
Yeah.
I stole from that company.
Yeah.
It makes me I feel bad. That's why I'm like, you know what? Give me something else to buy.
This brings up a really good topic, though. A little micro discussion I think we should have. I do think, and we've kind of hit around this quite a bit. I do think there are games that are only worth $30, and it's not about the playtime; it's about the overall experience of the game. And don't get me wrong, you can get a $30 game and get a $70 experience like this one. I would say, for instance, but there are games like smaller, because that's the word that I like to use, is smaller, like smaller titles that shouldn't be $70, like a Golem, for instance, or Hellblade 2 is coming out and it's only $49.99 instead of the $70.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean? Because it's a smaller experience.
I actually think that those games are actually at their value and worth it. So like, I wouldn't say that this is a $30. I wouldn't say this is a $30 game with a $70 experience. I think this is a $30 game with a $30 experience. It's still a $30, but that doesn't mean that a $60 experience is worth more or less than a $30 experience, if that makes any sense.
Okay, I see. No, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a $30 level of quality game that provides me with a massive amount of enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is worth $60 to $70. I wouldn't pay $60, $70 for this game.
Yeah.
Right? Personally, I wouldn't, just because like the quality of the design, but for a $30 experience, it's a great one. It's a great one. Yeah. Like, yeah, I think that's the best way for me to, I don't know how to explain that any more than that. But that's also like how I view how much I enjoy games and how much I actually spend on a game in the first place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because you will have games where it's like Diablo 4. I hate to bring it up like this, but Diablo 4 at $50, still not a $50 experience. At $40, maybe, like $30-$40 experience.
I think $40 is fair.
Yeah, like a $40. Yeah. But here's the funny thing: it still wouldn't be a great $40 experience.
No, the experience wouldn't change. And I like, so what I was doing before you, I wouldn't say you've changed my mind, but you've made me think about it, was associating my enjoyment with my dollar amount. Not how much I play it, just how much I enjoyed it.
Right.
Do I feel like it was worth that much?
Yeah, I think those two things need to be separated. And this game does a really good job at that, because even though it's $30, it's a blast. I don't know what to say. It's a blast. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. It's goofy, it's funny, but then it also even has like a little bit of a challenge to it. The tower boss, I thought, was actually, like, even though it's not super complicated, complex design, it was actually really fun. I had a really good time playing it, because it almost has like a little bit of like a Souls-like kind of feel, because you can technically iframe dodge some stuff, which is kind of cool. So I've just been genuinely enjoying the game overall. I think this is great for people that haven't had a creature collector style game to play. It's great for people that like crafting games.
It's just a good game. We talked about it, and I'll just mention it here. I'm probably more than likely going to like get a private server or whatever. I'll pay for it, and then we'll once I do, we'll post
link it to the Discord.
Link it to the Discord, and then like, I think you can only get 32 people in. So if you don't make it in, I'm sorry. I'm not buying 2 servers. I'm just doing 1. But it'll just be like a community thing where we can all come in at any time and play the game and build and do all that kind of stuff together as a group. It'd be kind of fun.
Pity, everything deserves to be compared to Dark Souls at some point in time. Everything does. Everything does. Everything. So here's the other thing too. One of the things I kind of wanted to bring up as a part of this conversation, because I realized like there's, people that are really invested in the conversation of like, the controversy surrounding the game and stuff like that. However, we're not taking the time to even discuss some of the things that make this game more valuable than many of the experiences we've had with other survival games like it. Like, there's microsystems within this game that are genius. That this isn't some copy pasta game. It's not a copy pasta game, because you look at stuff like, just as an example, how different animals have different skill levels at doing things around your camp.
Yeah.
That is so cool, because I'm out looking and hoping that I can find a unique monster that has certain abilities to be able to increase production at my base on different things. Like, I got a blaze ram or whatever it is, right? And that thing, like I told you before, is like really good at production, but it's also foreman, so it also helps to like boost everybody's morale that are working on other things in the base. So having characters like that have extra value. You're not just running around trying to catch one of those guys. You want to catch a few of them, because you want to see if you can get one that has like a unique buff that's going to make everybody in the base, even more efficient or effective or whatever it might be.
Have you gotten any with negative personality traits?
Yeah, I kill them.
Like, I got one that like it's so silly, but I have to keep him alive just because he's a hard worker. He just likes to destroy stuff.
Toasty says they made the world feel more alive than Pokemon games have kind of come close to, and that's true, because the thing is that what I've kind of really connected with the game is that I really like the fact that it does actually kind of capture what it would be like to live in a world with monsters like this, because here's the funny thing is, we've seen stuff like this in the Pokemon like TV shows and stuff, where like, where the monsters actually do work like jobs alongside the people, where like, they're doing deliveries or they're helping to cook food or something like that. But we've never seen any type of functionality in the video games that bring that together, other than capture it and then use it in battle, capture it and use it in battle, where this is more like living alongside these monsters rather than just using them for battle purposes only. While I get that people make the meme, and the game even, pushes on the meme, to be tongue in cheek and to be a little bit racy and having, like forced labor and et cetera, et cetera. This is actually the more realistic representation of what it would be like to live in a world like that.
Yeah. I mean, forced labor. We are all forced labor to live, right? I mean, honestly, just depends on how you look at it. But yeah, they're in there working for their food. They're working for all this stuff. You're taking care of them. It's not like it's not that bad.
Yeah,
it's not that bad.
Yeah. So I think that there's some really cool, unique systems like that with, how they already have the subset skills of what makes like certain pals better at doing certain jobs within your bases. And then you think about like to the point where once you can have more than one base, then you can have like, oh, well, this is like my mining facility where I got a bunch of guys that are really specialized in helping me to refine metals. And then I got like my botanical gardens over here where they're, creating all of our food and all that kind of stuff. And you just kind of place that stuff all over the place. And then I also really like the passive ability system, because I think that that's something that's also really cool and was never explored in like in the Pokemon series, where you had these, you have these passive abilities like I talked about earlier, where, I have the King P.A.K.A. that increases my inventory space and stuff like that, where typically in Pokemon games, it's just as limited to, oh, is this a water type Pokemon? You can ride it in the water. It can, does this have a slashing type? It can learn cut. It can cut bushes.
Cut stuff.
Is this a flying type Pokemon? It can fly. And the funny thing is, you still have all of those functionalities that were in those games as well in this game, because you can fly on them, you can ride them, you can also grab the fire type one and squeeze it like a flamethrower.
Yep. Or the what is it? The Limpkin. I got it to where he jumps on my head and then he shoots a machine gun. So that's fun.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. By the way, for the people that have been playing Palworld, if you guys want to know a little cheat, you can actually technically take food, throw it into a container, and then pull the food back out, and it resets the timers. so it doesn't perish as fast.
Or you could build a refrigerator.
Yeah, the refrigerator gives like an hour, but you can also like put the stuff out and then pick the stuff back up, and then you'll get an even longer timer on the food. Because if it's being frozen actively, it gets a longer timer. If you pick up frozen or food that was in the fridge, it has a longer timer. So you can actually increase the amount of time that you can be out like exploring and stuff like that and find food. Just a little helpful tip, okay? Just a little helpful tip. You know, that's what you guys come for. You guys come for just the tips.
Just the tips. Yeah. Did you see this is just slightly off topic. But did you see that somebody found how to save scum honor mode?
Yeah, you just force close the game.
No. You keep starting new games and fill up all of your save slots, because you know how you can select how many save slots you have.
Yeah.
And then you can save.
You almost said save slots.
I did. Save the slots. 2024.
2024.
Yeah. There's the fan backlash is pretty ridiculous, I think. What's your favorite part? What's your favorite part of the game?
I like the ability to like look off into the distance, see some like structure, building, mountain, whatever it is, and say, huh, that looks really interesting. I wonder if there's some like different type of, pals or whatever over there. I go off that way. I find a camp. That camp has like, one of the pals caged. I take out the dudes around it. I save the pal, which it means save the pal just to take the pal. But, I find, a couple of those like there's like these little energy statues that you can find that help you like increase your capture rate when you find a bunch of them. So it has like the kind of like collection thing going on there. Maybe pop into a dungeon and then, hit a couple of fast travel points. And I just enjoy that. I enjoy just general traversal and just kind of, looking around.
Yeah. Like
also land ball. I also enjoy killing land balls and watching them just rocket down a hill.
You know what? I like to get on my direwolf and I ride him, and he does an attack where he just lunges forward and bites them, and they die instantly, and then it just launches them. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So anyway, Palworld, great. We're gonna probably talk about it more maybe next week. I'm gonna play more of it this week. I'll probably do a couple videos on it because there's a couple topics that I want to talk about directly about Palworld, because it does some really interesting stuff. Not only for gamers and filling a need that we have, but also it does some really interesting stuff for the industry as well, or leads to some really interesting questions for the industry itself. But speaking of the industry, let's talk about the Xbox Direct.
Okay.
Xbox Developer Direct.
You watched it, yes?
I did watch it. Did you watch it?
I did watch it. Did you?
Okay.
If you were to rank it out of a 1 to 10 of how you felt about it, what would you give it? Like a 1 to 10 of excitement, whatever.
Oh, excitement wise, like a fucking 2.
Yeah, I'm about
like a 2. We're not going to spend like a whole lot of time talking about this, because I'm going to be honest with you. Why do I feel like Xbox? I don't mean this. No, I mean this. I mean this. I mean this in the worst way possible. I feel like Xbox just makes boomer games. It's just old man games. Starfield, old man game.
I need a violin. Do you have a violin to play?
Indiana Jones, old man game. Halo, basically now an old man game.
Yeah, that's fair.
They don't really make anything that like really appeals to younger audiences, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I got you.
You know what I mean? Or when I'm saying younger, I'm not saying like 15, 13-year-olds. I'm talking just like, I don't know, 20 to 25, 20, like between 20 and 30 maybe, or something like that. Yeah. Games for non-gamers. Yeah, it kind of feels like that. Youngsters cannot understand. No, they can't. So, yeah, I don't know exactly how to put that into better words than what I said. So we're just gonna have to take that at face value.
Okay. There was a lot of things that threw up some red flags for me. Okay. The speak about Hellblade, which I wasn't big on the first one. Basically was the combat. But watching Hellblade go and like watching the movement of it and where they place the camera, it looks like all of the combat and listening to what the devs were saying is they want it to be like, up close and gritty and I get that. But it looks like it's either going to be QTE or kind of a la Dragon's Lair, where you're just you're dodging because just the way the camera and the combat looked, it doesn't look like it's going to be all that engaging. Then he also said that it's a shorter experience than the first game, which kind of like brings up why they did the $49.99. You know what I mean? Because it's a smaller, like it's more of a tech demo than it is a game. It is.
Well, that's the thing. That's what the first Hellblade was. It was like a tech demo game. It's not like a real game that you're trying to play for like you're playing it to see how pretty it is and to see how far the Unreal Engine 5 can be pushed.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is an Unreal Engine 5 game like pushed to the absolute limit. So yeah, obviously there's going to be, a little bit of it's just basically a tech demo. That's how I looked at like the first Hellblade. It's not incredibly compelling gameplay. You're more there for the narrative and the design more than anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's been a lot of backlash about the Avowed part of it, right? And you're seeing gameplay right now on the screen. So when I first looked at it, the first thing I noticed is that it is done in the art style of their Pillars games. Even their spells. See that spell?
Yeah.
The way it goes around the ground as a whole thing, they're literally using the same spell, or maybe altered, but they're using the same type of spell that they used in those games. And so a lot of people, it's throwing a lot of people for like a loop, thinking the game looks like it's going to be bad or it's whatever. What they essentially did is what people were asking Baldur's Gate to do, Larion to do, was to make a first-person Baldur's Gate 3 game. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't understand why people would be upset that the animations look similar. Like, obviously, it's a higher res animation. It's not like a low res, like the same as Pillars 2.
Yeah.
It's a high res animation that's, been, the quality of it's been come up, but it's the same spell as the old game. So, of course, it would look similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they're not upset because they don't even. Here's what's the thing about it is the Xbox players, more than likely, I would say 99.9% of them never played a Pillars of Eternity game.
No.
And so like Obsidian is doing a service to the people who did, like, hey, this is what it would look like in first person. You understand what I'm saying? And the Xbox community at large doesn't understand it because they didn't play those games. They don't understand what the callback for it too. They're not complaining about the animations themselves. They're complaining that they feel like it was a rope-a-dope. From the first trailer that they had, they thought it was going to be Elden Ring, or not Elden Ring, Elder Scrolls, and then you saw the next time they showed something, they showed him the guy getting off the boat, showed his leather boots and legs, and then walking down the pier, right? So then they got this. Okay, maybe it's like Assassin's Creed because it kind of had that glossy deal over it.
Yeah.
But what most people are bitching about is the voice acting. And how it is. If you play the Pillars of Eternity, okay, if you played it, they have multiple races and they all have multiple dialects. Those races talk a specific way. That's just how it is. If you don't like it, you're not gonna like it. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
Like so the different races, they made them culturally sound like that race.
Right.
Or do you understand what I'm saying? So
yeah.
More like the guy talking right now, most of those people are going to be voiced by Black voice actors. They just are.
Okay.
Because they're considered the, of that game. So like, get over it. I think the game's going to be pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see what a CRPG in first person looks like.
So people had problems with was it the quality of the voice acting, or was it the actual it was his voice?
They think the voice doesn't match the character.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think that has any. Did they specifically say it had something to do with like racial tones?
Oh, they're not going to openly say it.
Okay, so here's my thing. I watched the Xbox Direct. I watched this section repeatedly. Nothing against the people that are, portraying the actors. I just think the voice acting itself was very good. And I think that overall, especially because of Baldur's Gate 3, people's standards for voice acting is going to be unrealistic for a while.
It is.
Actually, I shouldn't say unrealistic. People's standards for voice acting is going to be realistic moving forward. And it's going to take a while for them to go back to having these games that have subpar voice acting that is passable. I shouldn't say subpar, passable voice acting, where many games voice minor characters with passable voice acting, rather than how Baldur's Gate 3 had every single possible NPC, cat, animal, squirrel, bird, every single one of them have AAA voice actors, not actually AAA, priced voice actors necessarily, but they just made sure that whoever they hired to do voice acting was a G.
Yeah. And what I guess the point I'm trying to get to is the voice acting in the Pillars games is campy. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so like what they're doing with the game is a Pillars of Eternity game, first person. So they're keeping it true to that world of what they've done in the past. So I get it. I understand why people would be frustrated, but this isn't a rug pull by any means. And that's what people are thinking, that this game's a rug pull. I don't think it is. Did you see the box? Did you see the box art for it?
Yeah, box art looks sick,
dude.
Oh,
real
you're
sick.
The skeleton.
Yes, dude,
yeah,
that is
sick.
So sick.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm not necessarily on the camp that I think that it's going to be a banger. I think it's going to definitely serve the audience that it's made for.
Yeah, I do too. That's what I'm saying. I think it's made for the Pillars of Eternity audience, not the Elder Scrolls audience.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Obsidian came out and specifically said they are making this game for themselves. They're making this. They're making this game the way. Yeah, they're making this game the way that they wanted to make it. Because before, what happened is they, when they first started making Avowed, they were trying to make Skyrim, Obsidian style Skyrim, right? They were trying to copy the normal Bethesda, framework. So they were trying to go that way. Yeah. And instead they changed gears and said, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to make the game that we want to make. Yeah. We're going to make it narratively focused more than anything else, rather than it being this massive, huge open world. Some of the areas are going to be a little bit more linear. You're definitely going to have plenty of places to explore, but it's not going to be this like Skyrim size massive game or anything like that. And I think that's fine. I think that they should do what they want to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I'm not saying it's going to be the best game. I think I'm going to enjoy the game because I enjoyed the other games. Yeah,
I think that's going to be generally true for most people too. I think most people are going to feel the same way. The funny thing is that like we often toss around the topics of like, hey, let the developers make whatever they want to make, but then we also mean that only if it's good.
Yeah, only if it's what I want you to make.
Yeah, only if it's
make what you want to make, as long as it's something I like.
Yeah, when the developers do what they do, like when the developers do what they want and they're passionate about it, and I also like it, and it's also the thing that I want. That's the game that I want.
Yeah, I just like it turns me off when like the Xbox fans in general, and this isn't everybody who likes Xbox. This is just like your Twitter heroes. They turn on something like this. It's like they're expecting Microsoft to be able to make a Ghost of Tsushima or a Last of Us or any of those type of titles, and they're not going to, right? I think the closest they're going to get to that I don't know, maybe Indiana Jones, but Indiana Jones is just it's first person Wolfenstein with a whip and a hat, and it's going to be a good game, good action game, but this is what it is.
So the thing is that you want to keep this in mind. The Xbox Andes that are really into, like, they love it when Xbox picks up a new studio. They love the acquisitions. They cheer for the exclusives. The people that are in that are looking at a company like Obsidian specifically, when they saw that acquisition, all they thought was Fallout New Vegas. They didn't know what Pillars is. They don't care what Pillars is. The the overarching Xbox fandom doesn't care about games like that. So when they see this, they're like, this isn't Skyrim. New Vegas.
Why is that a lizard man?
I don't like lizard mans in my games. Yeah. That's just with the, so you're going to have this really weird and somewhat disjointed reception of some of the games that they're going to put out. They had this at the same time, you know, they didn't complain when Obsidian Shadow dropped Grounded.
No.
And that was just a game that they just felt like making. They just like, hey, we kind of wanted to make this game, and Microsoft gave us the green light to just go ahead and do it, even though it was just like a little fun side passion project we were working on. And yeah. So it's I don't know. We'll see exactly what it is. And also, by the way, I could definitely see that it's PlayStation. Actually, speaking of PlayStation fans, when I watched the developer direct, the entire time the chat was just rolling. It was just like, gaming is dead, Xbox is dead. These are dead games, bad games, blah blah blah. That was the whole chat the entire time. There was no positivity in there at all. I was like, holy crap, man. And I'm realizing that they were probably getting raided by some ponies.
You know what really shocked me the most about this developer show? Square Enix was there.
Yeah, I'm playing that right now, actually. So one of the things that shook me
to my core.
Shook me to my core was the fact that Square Enix is there. So I didn't know this, but Visions of Mana is going to be an Xbox release first.
Is it first? I know it's not Game Pass because they didn't say Game Pass. It just says Xbox release.
No, I think it's I don't understand, because this is part of the Xbox Developer Direct, which would tell me that this might end up being an Xbox exclusive.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. When they were talking, they were like, it's going to be on Xbox in Japan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were real big about that.
And the other thing is that obviously they made a big deal because this is the first Mana game that's ever been on an Xbox console as well.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. But I mean, talk about a long running franchise. And I mean, one of my favorites too. It's been a long time since I played a Mana game. I'm going to be honest, chat. I'm beyond stoked for this.
Yeah.
I am elated. I am nostalgic, and then also extremely excited because I like the direction that they went in. Very Tears of the Kingdom / what else is this kind of like? I don't know, Phoenix Rising. Just open world action RPG. Yeah, open world action RPG, and I'm like so beyond here for it. Talking about a game. Kevin, get out of here. Kevin, I'm gonna time you out. I'm gonna time you out for that, bud. How dare you? How dare you? This is a game that's gonna appeal to a very wide audience.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of a shame for Xbox in general. Just even since its inception, it just hasn't really had a whole lot of Japanese games. You know what I mean?
No.
And PlayStation's always been the champion for that. And there's been a lot of good games that even I've missed out on because I didn't buy a PlayStation for a generation or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it like I think it's a good thing that it's going on all like as many platforms as possible. I don't think a platform should be preferenced. That's the Japanese title console, because Japan makes a lot of good games. It makes a lot of good games.
Yeah, some of the best ones. I mean, Japan overall has been probably the most consistent with quality over the last few years.
Yeah,
it really has been.
That guy is the Yakuza boss. I saw when they said he is the creator of all of the monsters, and he was like,
yeah. You know what the funny thing is? Like, what is it with like Japanese developers, like the most well known in the industry? Like, they all are like just dripped out. Naoki Yoshida always steps out on stage just dripped out. This dude comes out dripped out. I fucking love it, dude. This is something that I'm definitely here for. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
After this, the guy will go sing karaoke and play mini car games. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, so that's why you switched. I switched to PC to play both. I get the Japan titles and Xbox titles at the same time. It's pretty nice.
Wait, I don't know. What are you talking about?
It's pretty nice.
I don't understand what you're talking.
So someone said that's why you switched.
Yeah,
I think I switched to PC.
Yeah. So I'm genuinely interested and excited. Change your stream title on Twitch. Did it change it back again? Oh my god, it did. I'm sorry.
I think it said check my pasties, and I didn't know what the stream was, so I didn't click on it.
I changed it before we started streaming. I'm sorry. I've been neglecting Twitch, and apparently Mark has too.
I wasn't.
What am I doing? I guess we'll just put it as just chatting. That's fine.
I had to. My internet dropped. I had to shut down some streaming stuff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm blaming you for everything then. That makes sense.
That's fair.
So yeah, no. And overall, I really like the direction that Visions of Mana is going in. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be obvious. I mean,
I don't know. Okay, so going from Blue, I want to say Blue Protocol for some reason. Relink. Going from that to that game, I don't know if I'm going to have exhaustion from it. You know what I mean? Just palette exhaustion.
Yeah.
Even though they're different games, they're kind of similar in a sense. So
kind of. I mean, we don't know what the overall combat's going to be like, but yeah, it's probably going to be pretty similar. Basic attack, heavy attack, magical attacks, things like that. It does look like, and there's obviously party combat as well, right? Because you see that later on in their, that's later on also in their preview. They show that off a little bit as well. So yeah, no, I mean, overall, it's something that I'm definitely excited for. They didn't really go too far into detail about the game mechanically or what they plan on doing, what gameplay is going to be like. They mostly just showed off kind of character designs and animations and stuff like that.
Well, right now they should be getting sued because I think that's a Pokemon he's writing.
Oh my god. This game has mounts. Oh my god. World of Warcraft should sue. So
I want that guy's haircut. So I had it earlier, remember?
You did have it earlier. Yeah, that's perfect. It looks good, dude. Yeah, you're looking great. Obviously they bring up how the soundtrack is a major interest of theirs, trying to make sure that the soundtrack's going to be as best it can be. Typically Square Enix games usually knock it out of the park when it comes to soundtracks in their games. Final Fantasy, obviously. But seeing as this is a game that has been a long time coming, I'd imagine that they're going to go all out for this, and I think it's actually going to pop off. I think this game's going to do really well. I'm really excited for Visions.
I think it's going to do extremely well. Like I said, there's been such a void on Xbox for these type of games, and so
huge.
It should do well.
Yeah,
I did notice. Like I said, it does not say Game Pass on there, so that's one thing. Maybe it is that I don't know. If it was an exclusive, it'd probably be on Game Pass.
It probably would be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't know. They haven't announced anything. Maybe they're probably still trying to discuss or something like that. But at the same time,
maybe they're doing a rebirth type thing.
At the same time, the thing is, you got to keep this in mind. There are developers that are out there that have no desire whatsoever to have their games on subscription services.
Oh, that's true. I mean, that is true.
You know what I mean? You have developers that are out there that don't want it, and yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that they wanted it or didn't want it. I was just like the way that Microsoft has done their marketing for the last 5 years is anytime that they show a game, it's generally an exclusive or on Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever they show something, it automatically makes us, the audience, go, is it exclusive? Even though they were just showing gameplay for a game that's going to be multi-platform. So you don't know.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think even more, especially with some of the discourse lately, I wonder if some companies are going to be trying to I wonder if some of these companies are going to try to dodge out of subscription services. So obviously I covered it this week where Ubisoft, mostly taken out of context in some ways, where Ubisoft, their head of subscription services came out and said, the only way for subscription services to really, become more dominant as the way that we interact with games is for gamers to get more comfortable not owning their games, right? And he talked about how that would happen. And I feel kind of bad because like some people are like, oh, well, it's kind of taken out of context from the way that he was talking, but he also didn't say like, he never talked about why we value games and why we want to own them. And then also on top of that, there's also like the tone deafness where it's just like, well, you know, they just need to understand that like, you know, once they learn that, oh, hey, you know, my progress is going to be saved here. I'm going to be able to play it anywhere I want to, whenever I want to, for however I want to, however long I want to, without realizing that the exact same time, literally that month, the month that he is doing that interview is also the same month that Ubisoft shut down servers for multiple games and got rid of DLC availability for multiple games. But you'll be able to play it whenever you want, however you want. You know what I mean? Like, what, bro?
Yeah. So, okay.
Of course we don't want it.
Like, this is a big deal, okay? Because there's two sides. There's actually not two sides. There's two different arguments going on, okay? Yeah. Or two different things. One is since I would probably guess anywhere around 2005 is when games.
I'm handing it over to you for a minute. I got to feed the cat. He's getting He's getting catty. You see him right here. He's just kind of like, you know, he's like, hey, dude, where's my food, dog? Where's my food? I want.
You got to cut his whiskers off so he just runs into stuff. So that'd be cool. Oh, but you'll kill a pal for being a little tired. Okay. All right. Cool. I see how it is. All right. Anyway, so
what the fuck is wrong with you?
There's two arguments. There's two different arguments. One argument is anytime a game is online now, like we buy so much stuff digitally, if it's online, they can shut servers down at any time. So every company is already doing this as a practice. Like you don't own it. You own the right to use it. Until the terms of service is up, and then you don't have the right to use it anymore. On the other argument of this is we've done this with movies, we've done this with music. It's gonna happen. Like almost everything is. When's the last time anybody's bought a DVD? You know what I mean? Like it's gonna happen when it comes to gaming. Now, when it comes with games as a service. I know you think it's not well, I'm not saying you think it's not going to last a long time. I don't think it's going anywhere, and I think it's going to get significantly worse, just like we did with when everybody cut the cable, and now you've got Paramount, you've got Netflix, you got all of these other subscription services, all the cable providers, Peacock, Paramount, CBS, all of them started their own streaming services to basically make back that same amount of money that they lost for when they cut cable. So I just I just don't see it ever going away. I understand some of you are not sub to this and that, but there are a lot of people that are sub to it. But with like the DRM stuff that we're having going on right now, we've always had DRM going on. I mean, even on PC, when you used to buy the CD-ROMs, you'd have to have the key code to access it. Same thing. That's just, to prevent, hackers, but going all digital gives companies all the access that they need to the game, from you. So you're just buying a license from them, and they can sever it at any time. You do not buy DVDs, FTW. You don't buy DVDs. So they don't sell them. I'm just kidding. They do. They still sell them. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the last game. That's why, like the Marvel Universe one, the Marvel Alliance game that people bought, and they bought all the DLC for. This was a Square Enix one. Bought all the DLC for and all that stuff. Gone. You know what I mean? Like, I think the only way to curb this from happening and going into the future like this, and I don't want to be a doomer about it, is going to have to be legislation on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think the fundamental difference with how we engage is how we engage with the product. So while yeah, technically we've seen this happen with TV, movies, music, things like that. We consume those things in completely different ways.
True. I mean, we do consume them in
different way. Vastly.
We do consume them in different ways. I understand that there are smaller bits, but just because it's smaller doesn't mean it's not the same. Do you understand what I'm saying? Entertainment is entertainment.
Yeah, but our experience of that entertainment is completely different as well, right? It's how we interact with it. It's how we, I don't watch 30 minutes of a movie, put it down, and then come back to that movie, a year later and then watch the rest of it, or watch another 30 minutes of it. That movie doesn't have consistent updates that build upon that same movie, specifically that same movie. We're not talking about a sequel. We're talking about downloadable content for that movie. There's different value that's associated with those kind of experiences and how we interact with those kind of things. And then also at the exact same time, the other thing is that I'm trying to think how to word this exactly. There's more reusability, and we're more likely to reuse those kind of things and get more hours of entertainment out of them than we ever would with movies, TV, or with music. So I get where you're coming from, but the thing is that our fundamental relationship with video games is completely different than our relationship with music, movie, or TV. Entertainment is entertainment, yes. However, how we consume it and our relationship with it is completely different. That's why I don't think that, I don't know, personally, I don't think that it's going to ever become the dominant form.
I'm going to do a callback to the conversation that we just had earlier in the podcast where you're talking about dollar value to, you don't put a dollar value on it, right? So, you have a handful of games that you'll always go back to and play, right? But not all of them, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Right. Okay. So I get where you're coming from, where you're talking about you put a game down and then come back to it later. But games have, because they're like it is big business, have become, like, in all honesty, just one and dones on a lot of games. A lot of games are just one and dones. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I understand that, like, I'm just talking about, like I said earlier, all gamers don't consume things equally, but they just don't. Not everybody is like people who watch gaming podcasts or put 600, 700 hours into Baldur's Gate. They're just not. And so there's more of them than there are of us. So it's going to happen regardless. And I think games as a service more than likely is going to be a mainstay. I just feel it's going to end up being a mainstay until one of them fails. If Game Pass ultimately fails and they're just like, fuck it, we're not doing it anymore, whatever, then I think as an industry it'll fail. You understand what I'm saying? Ubisoft's trying it. I think they're going to fail. They just don't have the library for it. They just don't.
Yeah. That also brings up a really big issue as well, right? Where the more companies we have that try and fail means that there's going to only be a couple of those companies that are running that, which means that chances are you'll have Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo will eventually have their own, and then because if we're saying this is an inevitability, this is no matter what, this is the way that we're all going to predominantly interact with video games from now on, is by using these kind of services. That means that Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation will have it, and then Steam will.
Yeah.
And then there's only going to be limited place. And the thing is that, like, that's not where I understand that, like, some people are going to think that's where things can go that way. I can't say that they can't. I don't think it will, but if it does go that way, that's fucking terrible for us. Because the thing is that, like, just to use it as an example, if I looked at the games that I purchased last year, many of those games are games that I'm going to go back and play again at one point in time. And if that game is no longer available to me and I have to wait, hopefully it comes back onto Game Pass. Oh, it's leaving Game Pass this month? Oh, I better sub to Game Pass and play it before it's gone. Like, I don't want to fuck with that, dude. I just don't want to fuck with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I fully agree with that part of it. But the other part of it is now that we buy games that have to have an online. I've played single player games that have to have an online connection. For what reason? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those were actually Ubisoft games, as a matter of fact, that were.
Well, yeah, because they want to shove fucking advertisements for their other games at you.
But like I said, they can shut those servers down at any time, and you signed off for it. You signed off on it. Then what's crazy is you signed off on it after you purchased the game, instead of beforehand.
Yeah,
and it should be a beforehand because you're taking a risk.
Yeah. So the problem is that like I know like humans, like I'm a huge fan of games subscription game services. I think that they have a place. I just don't think that they need to be the predominant way that we interface with games, because if that is what ends up happening, is that there ends up being this other, like right now it's the Wild West. So a lot of games are getting onto this service and they're all getting greenlit. But the problem is, and this is something that Sven Vinke from Larion Studios, head of Baldur's Gate 3, he brought up, and he's like, no longer would we be making games for you. Yeah. No, he specifically brought up, no longer would we be making games for the players. Instead, what we'd be doing is making games for these boards that have to approve for our game to be put onto their service. And chances are, what ended up happening is that many of these companies are just going to have to bribe the officials that are running these boards of these subscription services to make sure that their games actually even get on that service in the first place. And that also means that once they have that in a stranglehold, and most of these companies have to use the subscription services to be able to get their games to players, then that means that those subscription services end up taking a larger cut at the end of the day. Right now, you have most companies, I think most platforms take 30% to sell the game or something like that. You know, if you sell Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox takes 30%, you get the rest of the cut. Well, chances are what's going to end up happening is that cut will get bigger and bigger and bigger, lessening how much, you know, money and time and quality that we're actually going to get out of the games that we're getting, and putting more pressure on these studios than many of them probably deserve to have on them. Especially since many of these larger studios, as time goes towards that, by the way, are going to become acquired by these subscription services so that they become first-party titles, so that they have exclusivity to draw people to those platforms. As an example, it would be pretty easy to see in a foreseeable future for PlayStation to, you know, if we were going to go into this dark future in which subscription services become the primary way that we interact with games, the primary way that we play games, I could easily see Sony picking up Electronic Arts because, well, Xbox has Activision Blizzard. Well, now we need to have Electronic Arts. And then somebody else goes, well, we need to have Epic Games, and we need to have this and this. And then they start acquiring all these assets specifically for exclusivity, just like you already have with certain intellectual properties with, Peacock, Disney Plus, et cetera, et cetera. The reason why they go out and they get these is specifically for their streaming services, so they can make sure that they have these shows that you have to watch, and the only way you can watch it is on that specific subscription service. So it's going to put a stranglehold on AA and independent studios, as well as indie studios as well. There's a different classification between indie studio and independent studio, but it's going to put a really tight noose around the neck of those studios, because they're going to have to pay to even be on those services in the first place. They're probably going to make a lot less money than they normally would, because what happens is they're not going to base it off of how many people play your game. They're going to base it off of, well, this is what we think your game is worth, and this is what we're going to pay you for the year, or for the, you know, a year after that, or whatever it is. They're not paid per person that plays the game, because, you know, that would be really smart. Instead, they pay them like a flat rate on how much they want to pay them to have their game on that service. So overall, that's the reason why Sven Vinke came out from Larion Studios and said, well, we're not ever going to put our games on subscription services, because we know that these other platforms have to be supported, because we cannot let this die. We need it. And beyond that, the thing is that a lot of these subscription services aren't going to take a risk. And that was one of the things that I brought up in that Ubisoft video that I made, is that many studios, especially over the last few years, have been in this mindset that turn-based games and RPGs are dying. The new wave is Fortnite's, Roblox's, Minecraft's, all that kind of stuff, We need more of that stuff. We need more live service. We need more microtransactions. We need all of this stuff. So when they see a company come out and say, well, we're making a classic RPG based on Dungeons and Dragons that's turn-based and mostly narrative, most companies are going to go, no, I'm sorry. We don't want to pay for that. No. Which means that a company like Larion wouldn't be able to make games or serve an audience like they want to.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just kind of rap got it on that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I don't know if you mentioned this while I was using the restroom, but the nature of to agree with one of your points, the nature of a service, like a live service subscription, is they are going to have to constantly buy studios to fill the gap. They have to fill the like, if Netflix only had 2 shows, you wouldn't subscribe to Netflix, right? It's got to constantly add new stuff all the time, and it could get super, super ugly.
And what's the quality of that shit that they have to keep feeding?
Well, if it wasn't for Netflix Korea, Netflix would be terrible. So, no, I mean, the quality of their games haven't been great. I mean, honestly, they've had some okay games, but for the most part, I mean, right now, a $30 game is the shining beacon on their service right now. Yep. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, it's not doom and gloom or anything. It's not what I'm trying to get at, but yeah, I'm pretty sure neither one of those companies, Nintendo, I don't think Nintendo's got a big enough catalog. Because people do like retro games, they've got a big enough catalog through all of their history, and they are smart about not putting it out all the time. You know what I mean? Like they don't.
Yeah.
So they can bleed that through, but Sony and Microsoft are definitely not done buying studios by any means, any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Well, no, that's also, keep in mind too that Netflix is getting into gaming as well now.
Yeah, they are. They're already streaming gaming.
Yep.
Which I don't think streaming's. I think streaming's a decade or more off.
Well, so there's a big problem with digital subscription services. There's a barrier that they're going to have to get over, a major hurdle, both for the subscription services and for game streaming, is that there are a lot of countries and a lot of places that do not necessarily have the infrastructure as like the U.S. market, the European market, or honestly even China. Like China has a fucking problem with internet. You know what I mean? And that's a huge market for a lot of games. So a lot of stuff gets sold over there. And it makes it really difficult if a lot of those products end up having, it's subscription only or something like that, because a lot of those places don't have consistent internet access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, is that infrastructure as a whole has to come up pretty significantly for streaming service specifically to be like really viable for games. Not that it won't happen. Right, not that we won't get to that part. Like, I mean, obviously, the future just keeps chugging on, but yeah.
Well, Singularity's in 2 years, so buckle up, buddy.
So what?
You don't know what you need to read. That's all you need to do is just read. Just read some. I would like
to tell me to read like conspiracy theories and shit.
Singularity isn't a conspiracy theory. Grey Wolf says, kind of weird how quality is often referred to exclusively in cinematic quality, not gameplay. I was referring to gameplay. Most of the titles that are worth your time on Game Pass are your smaller titles, not your graphically intense popcorn blockbuster titles. And that's what I was saying, is the service is going to have to add in more of those popcorn to get more people to sub to the service. They're going to have to get more popcorn summer blockbuster games. They just are.
Yeah, well, they got Suicide Squad kills the Justice League.
Okay, I'm fucking done with you. Oh, I'm so done with you. I'm so fucking done with you. All right, cool. Did
you see all the like the angry boys I had about that stuff?
Yeah.
Like they mad. They're like, man, you're so wrong. Me and my friends were looking forward to this game. I'm like, sitting there. Somebody commented saying that I was looking forward to this, and my friends are looking forward to this, and I just typed in like, who are you?
Yeah. You need new friends.
I'm like, who? I'm like, okay. I'm like, what? I'm like, is that supposed to be reflective of the like mass? Like, he's like, oh, well, my favorite line, chat. My favorite line. Well, this guy says this, and he doesn't even know it's the top most pre-ordered game on PlayStation right now.
What else? What else is there to order? The Last of Us 2 remake? Get out of here.
Remastered.
Whatever.
Last of Us 2 Part 2 remastered. Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
Here's the thing. I don't knock people for the games they play. I really don't. I really, if you are going to enjoy it, I get it. But I promise you, that's going to be one of those games when it comes out, it's going to be a turd, and they're going to shut the servers down in about 4 years. Yeah. That's just where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, basically. And the funny thing, it's like everybody knows that. Everybody looks at it and knows it. Or if you're trying to tell me you're sitting here and you think that like that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is going to be like the next Destiny. What are you doing? What are you doing? What does it tell you that some of their top devs left to make their own studio because of that game?
No, the founders of Rocksteady left to make their own studio. Not some of the devs, the founders.
Yeah. It's definitely the game they wanted to make, by the way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. It's doomed to fail. Like it's just it's a bunch of coping. And by the way, I brought this up in one of my streams. I didn't talk about this on the podcast last week, but I brought this up in one of my streams. So people are like, I don't understand why you're saying this. There's so many people that have really positive things about to say about the game. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I dived in. I'm like, all right, I got to go check this out. I got to see what's going on. I got to be Mr. Good YouTuber. I got to do my job and make sure I do my research. And I dive in and I look, and it's like 5 or 6 people on fucking Twitter with like 30 likes that are like, I played the beta. It was good.
Oh.
People keep shitting on this game and they haven't even played it. Destin Legarie couldn't even beat the Flash. And then you actually go and like read Destin Legarie's like discussion that he was trying to have, and specifically what he brought up is that like the mechanics are just like fucking annoying. It wasn't that it was hard and he couldn't beat it. It was just annoying. It was just an annoying fight. And there was also like non-telegraphed attacks that kept hitting him. And he's like, I don't like that. And people are like, how dare you? But that's how the Flash would be. That's how it'd be like fighting the Flash. It would be annoying because the Flash is annoying.
He's fast. Oh my God. So yeah. Destin, I was watching him do a live today with Paris. He's doing this segment on his channel where he's just talking with strangers, right? Where he's just talking with a random person. So he's had people in to come on and have a discussion. But he was one of the people who is less
Simba. You will be the one.
You gotta rub ketchup on his forehead now. He was on the side of the Avowed, thinking it was a downgrade, and he was less excited for the game. And so that's like, because I saw earlier in the comments that it said it was mainly PlayStation people on Twitter that were just trying to spin negativity. It's not. It's people in the Xbox community that are not as excited for the game after seeing that developer update. So it's kind of a shame, really.
Yeah, I don't know. What's up, Slyflox or Slyflox?
That's a nice cat.
Slyfox
says Jackie.
Why can I say that? Sly Fox. I was like Slyflox.
It's like safe sluts.
Yeah. Silly Sally sits and shells her peas all day. She sits and sells, shells and sits and shells and sits. There we go. All right. Fix my tongue. Theophilus the Thistle Sifter while thissing. Oh man, I can't do it. Can I do that? Theophilus the Thistle Sifter while sifting a No, damn.
What are you doing to your sister?
What are you doing? Theophilus the Thistle Sifter while sifting a sifter full of thistles thrust 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Sorry. There's this drinking game that I used to play all the time with friends that was called Pass Out. And basically what it is that you would You'd roll dice, and depending on whatever you rolled, you move your piece across the board, right? And on it, it would have these different things, like whatever, like challenges. Sometimes it'd be like take a drink, move back 3 spaces, and take a drink. And then once you got around the board all the way, you get this pink elephant card, right? And the pink elephant cards are tongue twisters. So what you would do is you would have to read the tongue twister, and you can't fuck it up. If you fuck it up, you get one more chance, and you get 3 chances to read it. Each time you fail, you have to take a drink, right? And then once you say, if you said it correctly, then you keep the card, and that's how you accrue points, right? And it's usually at the beginning, you set it to whatever. Like most time, I'd play with people that were like, oh, we're playing to 10, and I'm like. I look at that. I'm like, I'd ask people, I'm like, hey, as somebody's played the game a lot, I'm like, what do you guys want to play to? Like, oh, we'll play to like 10 points. And I'm like, oh, you're going to be fucked.
You're dying of alcohol poisoning.
Yes, it's because it's one of those games that it creeps up on you super fast because you start playing it and you're like, oh man, like you start having drinks, like drinking while you're playing the game, right? Just having a sip here or there. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. And they're like, oh, well, it's going to take forever. And I'm like, hey, you say that. Until you realize, oh god. And I have a lot of practice at that game, and there's a lot of cards that I still remember, and all these tongue twisters that I've so I actually got to the point where when I play the game, you would just have to give me the first word. I can't read the card myself. I have to do it from memory. I have to handicap myself because I've played the game so much that I've memorized so many of the tongue twisters.
Your poor liver.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, yes.
Well, we've only got 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, and then we are going to be hardcore playing some Granblue Relink. Can you believe it? It's almost.
Thank you for your content and videos. It's been really meaningful ever since I lost my dog. Oh man, appreciate that. Sorry about your dog.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, Granblue Fantasy Relink is next. That's our next release, right?
That's our next release. It is. And Palworld will take me all the way to it and through it. So
It should, yeah. I got really good videos coming up for next week, too. A little bit of Palworld, a little bit of Dragon's Dogma. And I mean, and by the way, I say that with like the most sultry voice I possibly can because Dragon's Dogma is going to be filthy.
You need to have like a button that just turns a red light on when you say stuff like that. Just like, oh.
Just hits like the love music, and I'm just like, let me talk to you guys about Dragon's Dogma real quick. I'm gonna get real down and dirty and talk to you guys about Dragon's Dogma. You guys like the pawn system? What do you guys think about action combat? You want to climb some monsters? Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait for Dragon's Dogma. It's one of those games that like not very often do we get games that we know that we look at and go, dude, this is going to pop off. Like this game is going to blow up. People are going to love it. It's going to be so much fun. I'm probably going to play it for like most of the year. I'm going to make probably like 60 videos out of the damn thing, just talking about random stuff that I like about the game. And I love that. I fucking love that. I'm getting the Baldur's Gate 3 vibes all over again, where I'm just like, I'm going to sink my teeth so hard into this game. So hard.
I haven't, like, I'm almost to the point with Baldur's Gate 3 that, so when I'm playing it, I wouldn't say I'm rushing through, but I'm always putting myself in a harder position. Like I'm making fights harder on purpose to challenge myself. Does that make sense?
In what?
In Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, okay.
So like I think like I know there's one more story playthrough, but I think after that I'm probably gonna shelf it until the mods on Steam come out.
Okay.
Like I've gotten to a point to where I've kind of played it so much that I'm not that I'm bored with the game, but I'm like forcing different interactions within fights. I'm making it harder instead of easier for myself. just for the challenge. So I'm waiting for some mods to see what that adds.
Yeah. I'm doing the playthrough with Cody. I'll probably do another playthrough on Steam or on stream eventually. Probably maybe after a little bit of Palworld and Sekiro. Yeah. I still need to do like a stream of Elden Ring too. I kind of want to give that. I kind of no, just a regular playthrough probably.
Oh, okay.
Just try to like pay more attention to the lore and stuff like that if I can.
Yeah, that was the lore. I felt like the lore in that game was a little bit more difficult to get and find and understand all that's going on. For me when I played through it. But I don't know. There was a lot of cool. Dude, that game. So you know what? I kind of want to play it again myself. It's been a while.
Elden Ring?
Elden Ring. Yeah, it's
such a good game. Well, here's the thing. It's coming up on its 2-year anniversary.
And the DLC, right?
Yeah. Well, there's no. They haven't announced anything yet. But I mean, chances are, yeah, we're probably gonna be looking at the DLC this year. So that'll steal a thunder of Black Myth Wukong. You thought you were gonna be Game of the Year? Guess what? DLC's getting Game of the Year this year.
Build claim.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did you guys see the rumors of DLC dropping in February? I don't know if they would shadow drop DLC. Did they do that with Dark Souls? Weird. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling a shadow drop. Plus, on top of that, man, like, hey, like that's like, you know, we're getting towards like Dragon's Dogma time right around there. We don't want that, okay?
I did not see that Palworld hit 1 million concurrent players. Does not surprise me. Does not surprise me.
Steam charts. Steam charts. Steam charts. Checking the Steam charts. Steam, holy fuck, 1.284 million player peak.
I'm telling you right now, dude. You know what's happening right now is that developer is sweating bullets because those servers are just humming. They're just humming.
I mean, the online ones. I don't think it really matters for like, I mean, your personal ones, right? I don't think those are using their servers, right?
Yeah.
Good Lord. It's evolving. There's no evolving in Palworld. What's up with that?
There's husbandry either. Even though I can't get them to do it.
You gotta force it.
Yeah, grab one and one and grab it to the other. Just get. Yeah. I want some baby Lambos.
Yeah, it's like that part from like Christmas Vacation when he's plugging in the Christmas lights outside. He's just like, yeah.
Just don't have the gloves for it. That's all.
There's a fusion machine too. Have you tried that yet?
I just unlocked it to build it.
I haven't used it yet. I want to try that.
Well,
though.
the way it reads isn't a fusion as much as it is taking more of the same character or the same pals and put it and I guess makes a better version of them. It doesn't really say like evolved version, but just like a higher leveled version.
Oh, so like if I got a bunch of lamb balls and I put all my lamb balls together, then I get a Lambo?
Yeah, you get a Lambo. Yeah, you get a Lambo.
I get a Lambo? We get that Lambo. Yeah, that's the other thing. Jax, I have a shiny. I caught a shiny, chat.
It's not called a shiny.
Gangsta, it is called a shiny because it's shining.
It's a blingy. It's That's their version. It's a blingy.
No, it's a shiny.
It's shiny is Pokemon.
There's no official term for it. I caught a shiny and nobody else has one. And even if you tell me that somebody else does, I'm gonna tell you you're wrong. Yeah,
it's a blingy.
It's a leaf monk. I think is what it is. So when you see them in the wild, they're literally shining. So like, shut up, Xeno. You're lying, and I don't want you to talk. And I'm timing him out. He's lying. So I caught like a shiny lift monk. When you see them in the wild, they're like 4 or 5 times the size of the normal like monsters, and they also have like sparkles on them. And when you catch them, they have like a supercharged ability. Like one of their abilities is it's gonna have something cool on it. So one of mine got like lucky, so it has plus 15% to both its like work ability as well as attack. So yeah,
a killer.
Yeah, they're shiny and big.
It puts the lotion on the skin,
or it gets the shiny again.
That's what we need, is a little well to just throw the bad ones down there and let them fight it out.
Yeah. So I've been playing games with Cody and Ryan lately. You know what the funny thing is that like, so I'm playing games with them, and one of their other buddies is in chat, and these two dudes are sitting there and they're watching like these videos on food. You know, like you see like the TikToks and shit, the YouTube videos of people making some type of food, but they don't have any context on what they're making. They just open the video without actually looking to see like what actually in the title is being made. I think it's because most of the time they're like looking at stuff from other countries, so it's like it's different language of the thumbnails. Who knows what they're making, right? And listening to these guys watch this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I told them, I'm like, dude, you guys need to start a fucking YouTube channel. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, this is literally like, listen, I'm like, you guys are watching food and you guys sound like this is Mystery Science Theater. Like, and I'm dead ass. And he's just like some of the things that they kept saying. And I'm like, dude, start a YouTube channel. I'm like, you have any idea how many people would love to watch that kind of content? You don't even have to be on camera. You just have a couple dudes on a microphone, put the little, just like Mystery Science Theater, put like, you know, like the two little blacked out icons of two guys up in front of the food, and you just listen to these dudes, and they're just like, oh my God, look at that butter. I would lick that whole thing of butter. I would put that butter on my body, and I would just rub it all over myself, and it just looks so good. Like, it doesn't even look like butter. It looks like cream. It looks like frosting or something like that. Like, I wonder what it smells like. I wonder what it feels like between my toes. And I'm like, what are these dudes talking about? And I'm like, bro. I'm like, this is so good. I'm like, man, I'm like listening, and I'm like, the funny thing is that it's actually compelling to listen to. And I'm like, dude, you could make a fucking, if they're not going to do it, I'm just going to steal the idea. If you guys end up seeing a YouTube channel pop up that's like Mystery Science Theater with two funny guys talking about food, you know where it came from.
Hot dogs.
You know where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Ryan and Cody.
Yeah, my for context, this buddy of ours, Ryan, worst guy to ever play a game with that he's played before.
Ever.
Worst person ever to play a game with that he has already played, because he will grab you by your nose and drag you through the whole thing. I will never forgive him that the one time I summoned the Moon Lord in Terraria.
Oh my God.
He made Mark and I panic. Mark and I were having a fucking blast playing this game. We were just taking our time. He was like, why are you building a house? Like, he'd be like, why are you building a house? Why am I building a house? Because it's fun and it's cool and I like to build. And he's like, yeah, but it's kind of a waste. I just do this because it's much faster. And I'm like, well, why do you need to play games fast? Like, why do people always feel the need to like hyper optimize their gameplay? Just fucking chill and enjoy the game. Like, who are you speed running? You know, you're only speed running your own enjoyment at that, at that moment at least. And I'm like, 'cause I'm enjoying myself. He's like, okay, well, that doesn't really help with like progression or anything like that. And I'm like, I don't really give a fuck what helps with progression. I'm chilling, dog. I'm having a good time. So, I'm wandering through the world. We've killed a bunch of bosses in Terraria. I get across and I stumble upon. I go like towards the dungeon area, and I see these dudes like worshiping this like coin. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I'm like, I'm gonna kill him. And I killed him, and then all of a sudden the fucking world starts shaking. There's like weird dimensional portals opening up. Like, what the fuck? And he's just like, oh, now we got to do it. I didn't know you were gonna start it. And I'm like, can't we just ignore it? And he's like, no, this is the end of the game. We have to do it, or the whole world's gonna get destroyed. And I'm like, wait, my whole seed is gonna be destroyed if we don't do this?
Yes.
I'm like, dude, that doesn't sound right. And he's like, no, it is. That's how it works. I'm, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and then obviously we kill the Moon Lord, we do all that stuff. And then I'm like, dude, how do you know that it was going to destroy the world? He's like, well, I don't know, because I've never not fought it before.
Sorry. So good.
So I'm like, so you literally just made that up? And he's like, yeah, I made that up. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, dude? Bro, how dare you? How dare you?
Yeah. Your first Divinity run was
God, Divinity 2 was ruined for me. Yeah. I still to this day am unsure because I'm like I was streaming Divinity Original Sin 2, but then I just kind of got distracted with some other stuff. Because to be honest with you, like though I enjoyed Divinity Original Sin 2, the problem is that I've started it and stopped it, started and stopped with the same group of people over and over and over again, that I am just fucking bored to nails with the first act of the game because I've just done it so many times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had one playthrough solo that I got all the way to the end of the game and just never like finished like the final couple fights or whatever. But like outside of that, like it's just one of those things where sometimes when you play with friends that like want to just like show you everything. Oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to do that. Oh, you need like, dude, shut the fuck up. Let me play the game.
Yeah, we gotta have this.
It's nothing against them. They don't know better. They're like the friends that they're just trying to have a good time. You know what I mean? But the problem is that sometimes we can push our own enjoyment. Like I don't fault them for doing it. It's just some friends are better to play games the first time with than other friends.
Yeah.
I think that if you're playing a game for the first time, it's always better to play it with a friend that's never played it too. Always.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. For your enjoyment.
Mark and I played Final Fantasy 14 together, completely blind. Best gaming experience ever. Oh, it was so good. Oh, it was so fire. Every single time a new story beat would hit, Mark and I would talk about, oh man, dude, what do you think's gonna happen next? Oh my god, I can't believe they did that to this character. I can't believe this happened to this character. Yada yada yada. And it was so fun. It was cool to be able to kind of share those moments together. To like learn the fights together, because obviously we had to go and do do some of the fights, some of the extremes and things like that. So we talk about the mechanics and talk about our classes and our dynamics and all that kind of different stuff. It was fun, man.
It was fun. It was fun.
A lot of fun.
Like when I play with someone, like it's a game I've played the balls off of, and the other person's new, I let them make all the choices, all the decisions, where I just follow them around. Yeah, it's their game and I'm just a passenger. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I do that with Cody. Like I walk him like, I'm like, you've never done this before, and he's like, no, and I'm like, all right, go ahead. He's like, well, what should I do? And I'm like, whatever you want.
Yeah.
He's like, like we're playing Baldur's Gate 3, and he's like, well, why? I don't want to fuck anything up. I'm like, so what if you do?
Yeah.
I'm like, so what if you do? We reposition, we figure it out, we change what we're talking, we change our direction in the game. It is what it is, man. That's how this works.
Yeah, that
sometimes you got to be a little bit more patient.
Because like on the Divinity one, I'd already beaten the game for your first time to play it, and so I just stayed quiet. And those like he was just like dragging you to gravel. You know what I mean? It's pretty rough and unenjoyable.
Yeah. I think having like a helpful hand, somebody that kind of guides you a little bit, like some more like easy mistakes to make that could like kind of ruin your experience or make it like not as enjoyable. I think that's fine, obviously, but straight up steamrolling you through a game is just not fun. It just genuinely isn't fun.
It isn't fun.
So we're at the close to the end of the show. This is actually usually the time that we take a little bit of time to take any questions. If you guys have any questions, want to know mine or Mark's opinion on something, you guys can go ahead and at legendary drops in chat. And ask us anything. If there's anything specific you want to ask us about, whether that's something news related from this week or last week or just something you would like to know in general. So this is your opportunity to do so. This is our time where we take questions. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in.
So first question is, how long are you going to let that beard grow? What are we doing here?
It'll probably get cut off sometime next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets to about this length, and then it gets to about this length, and then I'm just like, you know what? This can go. And then I go back to like
do a
5 o'clock. I go back to like
for at least for one video.
I go back to like 12 o'clock shadow next week, and then I keep switching back and forth.
Kevin would like to know: is Diablo considered a boomer game?
I think Diablo 4 is designed to be a boomer game. I don't think that Diablo as a franchise necessarily is, even though it does go back. I think certain games can transcend age, like regardless of when they're released or regardless of whatever the theme of the game or something like that. But you could definitely design it to be a game that's more aimed at older audiences than younger audiences. It's definitely a casual game, that's for sure.
Pity Pazuko. Guy, what about Persona 3 Reloaded? It releases in 12 days. Full-scale remake style. Restyle remake of a JRPG classic. No plans for coverage?
I'm gonna be honest. So Persona 3 Reloaded is on my, like, it's a game that's been on my radar, but the problem is that, like, I just don't have a lot of experience with Persona games, and I'm one of those people where, I mean, shame on me, chat. I try to make sure that I talk about things that I have, like, some knowledge on. It would take a lot of effort for me to turn around and learn enough about the game to make content on it. Maybe it ends up being something like I might get more into, like, doing reviews and stuff this year. So maybe it's a game that I do, like, a review for, but it might end up being far later than most people, to be honest. But it's, yeah, so it's not necessarily that that it's not a game that I don't want to make content for, but it's a game that I really don't know a whole lot about. Like, I played Persona 5 4, which one on fucking Royale. I played Royale on for a little while. I enjoyed it. It's really fun. I didn't get to finish the game, but that's my only experience with it outside of that. Now, I am a big fan of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the first one, because that was the first. It's like the first Atlas game I think I played. That is an Atlas game, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Cool Picks Cobain, aka Shotgun Mouth, ask: do you think Xbox will go third party, and is it a good thing?
I'm gonna say yes. They're gonna plan on going. This is me personally. I'll put the vote forward and say yes. They're gonna go third party because that is the aim for Xbox specifically. If they're gonna go all in on Xbox Game Pass as a subscription service, because I do think that they genuinely want to get out of the actual hardware market and just be back into software.
Yep. I think what they're gonna do personally, for me, is they're going to put out games third party initially to for the ones that make sense, right? Like Call of Duties make sense to be third party. Larger titles like that. I still believe that they'll keep games like Indiana Jones. I think that's going to be, strictly exclusive, stuff like that. But like the games that make sense, they're going to do those. But Ian's correct. They want to have their games played on as many glass screens as possible. So that's kind of where they're at with it.
And that even harkens back to this would be Game Awards before the last ones we just had. So this is like 2022 Game Awards. They were showing off how you can play Fortnite on a Samsung TV, right?
Yeah.
So and that's what the aim is, to eventually get to that point at one point. I saw follow up saying like it's like Final Fantasy. You don't need to. I don't think it's not necessarily that I need to like play the rest of the series. It's just I don't know anything about Persona 3 specifically because I didn't play Persona, like the original Persona 3.
Yeah.
And for me, when it comes to games like that, for the most part, I usually it's like you kind of want to hear things from the perspective of people that really understand the genre, or not the genre, but like the series itself.
Yeah.
Not to say that I won't in the future, but I got my hands full with a lot of different stuff, but I might take a look at it. Okay. I might take a look at it. We'll see.
All right. Xeno XP ask, how do you feel about Starfield potentially not having a game design document? I mean, according to Emil on the GDC panel, he said it held them back.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know shit all about game design. So I don't know how critical having a game design document would be and how critical it wouldn't be, or what its actual functionality is. So it'd be really difficult for me to have a opinion on exactly, how much of an impact that would have had on Starfield and its overall development. Though I could see if that was something that was supposed to make it where, that would make all of the different systems in the game make sense in the context of every system together, then obviously something like that would be critical, but I don't exactly know how that works, so I'm not really necessarily going to comment on that. However, I did see a lot of the drama about Emil, and I saw some dude did like a 3-hour video on how Emil is a bad writer, and then I saw another dude did a video in response to that guy's video of a 2-hour video about how people need to stop like witch hunting Emil, and he's a good guy and he's a nice guy and stuff like that. And I think both sides, to be honest, are fucking weird.
Yeah.
I think just at the end of the day, there's no way that you could ever point to one person and say that the issue that they've had with their games is just to this one person. It's something that's obviously penetrated most of their design structure and their company and like all around, right? So I'm not gonna point at one guy and say, oh man, he fucked up. He said some really dumb shit online. I made a video about it because I didn't agree with it, and I was like, well, this is just a bad take. But it goes to show that if that's the impression that he has, and he thinks he's validated by posting that online, and then tries to also invalidate those criticisms by saying it's just Redditors and shit like that are, you know, trying to combat his positions, like, that's just not a good place for Bethesda as a company to be coming from. You know what I mean? Like the criticisms people have on your games are legitimate. It doesn't necessarily need to be personal criticisms, but the problem is I think that a lot of Bethesda fans are just looking for reason. But the fact is that they don't realize is that Bethesda games have really never been great. Like, they're good, they're fun games, they're really cool and interesting, and they have a lot of unique things about them, but they've never been these like mastercraft perfect games that ran perfect, that played perfect, that made a lot of sense in the context of everything. Maybe outside of like, I mean, Skyrim to some sense, Oblivion in some sense, but they've never evolved. They basically just made the same game with a new coat of paint year over year.
Having a game design document is just good communication, and that's going to help any project is good communication. So yeah, not having one's kind of a kick in the butt, but I wouldn't say it was what made the game bad. So, all right, Xeno XP again. Just wondering about your opinions, though. I will say, since I have used GDDs before, a living game design documents or never mind, not a question, just a comment.
Oh,
God
yeah,
damn it, Xeno.
okay. Yeah.
God damn it, Xeno.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think personally, from my perspective, I think when we're talking about design elements specifically, I think that is a discussion that should be left to game designers and game developers to be the ones to have that kind of conversation and then bring that to light to the consumers. As somebody that's never designed or developed a game, it's hard for me to want to talk about the pipeline of how exactly they create games because I've never done it and I don't know enough about it to talk about it.
Yep.
All I can do, and what you guys can realize from the videos that I make, is that for the most part, I just talk about how games feel and make me feel.
Yeah, 100%. It looks like that's the end of the questions. Unless anybody's got anything left.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of lessons for them to learn from Starfield. It's going to take a while for them to be able to learn those lessons.
Yeah, like not use a creation engine. That'd probably be pretty sweet.
I don't even think it's the creation engine because it's also just like because the thing is that like if they made Starfield in Unreal Engine 5, would it have been any better? No,
maybe.
No,
maybe
glitches and bugs weren't even the fucking issue with Starfield. The issue with Starfield is that it was fucking boring.
The loading screens, though.
The issue with Starfield is that it was fucking boring.
Dude, you know what? Because of advertising, had Starfield been on PlayStation, it would have loaded faster because of their SSDs. So,
and it wasn't even, but here's the thing, like, I mean, people want to try to point out bad writing. It's not even just bad writing. Bad writing, bad characters, bad voice acting, bad gunplay, bad like quest design,
terrible NPCs.
No variation in questing whatsoever for the most part. Travel sucked. Obviously the loading screen sucked. and that every single system designed in the game didn't actually work within the other, like work together with any of the other systems. If you wanted to build a ship, you would have to travel from port to port to port to buy each part and then piece it all together after doing that. You couldn't have some way to just play, doing it all in one place and being done with it. Your inventory didn't make sense to your character. Your inventory would get filled too quick, and you immediately got to go back to your ship and then put it in your ship's inventory. But the ship has a limited inventory, and they need to build a section for the ship to be able to store specific things in there. But then there's a bug in the game that would cause where if you got a load screen, well, then all the stuff in that all the stuff in that storage would just disappear. There's just like a whole lot of things in the game that just didn't make sense in the context of all of the other systems. Nothing worked together in the game. And so you have that on top of boring, on top of bad character writing and all that stuff, and it all just becomes I'm gonna
disagree with Dark Hollow. He said bad exploration. It was no exploration.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Like, people play Bethesda games specifically for exploration, but there was no exploration in a Bethesda game. What the fuck does that make it?
Not a Bethesda game.
Yeah. I talk about it all the time. One of my favorite things that I enjoyed about playing Skyrim and Oblivion is that I could often just look off into the distance, see something, and just go for it. I would feel like I could literally get lost, and maybe I wouldn't be able to find my way back. Maybe I'd get trapped, and then it would put me in a really hard spot, or maybe I would die because of it. I would see a shrine, and then that shrine would lead to a quest that would lead to, all of a sudden I'm getting, in this massive quest line that I didn't even know existed. It gave me the feeling that I could literally find myself in a place in which I could potentially find secrets that nobody else saw, because my experience felt personalized because of how large those worlds were and how well they made, and how enjoyable they made exploring the worlds that they made. They lost all of that core, the magic of that core when they made Starfield.
Yep. They did. Starfield.
My favorite minigame was the magic space
Oh
temples.
My God, those are
for your space Dovahkiin.
Oh, those are so bad, dude. So bad.
The joke, the huge joke of just like, you literally just made the Dragonborn but in space, and now they're called Spaceborn.
Yeah.
And it's literally just Dragonborn powers but in space. Space edition. How much imagination that took. Good Lord.
Starfield felt less exciting than non-dairy creamer.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, it was like on top of like mechanical issues with the game, like literally there were problems with every single thing. And the funny thing is that a lot of that wouldn't matter if the overall moment-to-moment gameplay was fun, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't very good.
No.
Wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't good. So, like, if the moment-to-moment gameplay was better and enjoyable, then people would have fucking loved the game. Are you kidding me?
And there are people that love the game. They're out there.
Oh, I know. There's people that love fucking all. There's people that are like popping up in my comment section on the videos that I talked about, Starfield and stuff. They're like, oh well, it'll get better. I mean, it'll get better. I mean, look at Fallout 76. And I'm like, yeah, but the mass majority of players don't want to have shit to do with Fallout 76, even if they do improve the game. Like, yeah, I'm sure it has a following. I'm sure there's people that play it. But as somebody that, like, I'm going to be honest, my take on a lot of gaming topics is face value. Like, I do research. I go as far deep as I possibly can for content, for YouTube purposes. But most of my opinions are very face value when it comes to things. Give you an example. Fallout 76, I don't know fuck all about it. The only thing that I know is that they fucked their customers when it came out. It fucking sucked when it came out. And then that's where my opinion stopped, ended, and fucking lives. Fallout 76 could be the best fucking game ever today. Guess what? Ian doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, you missed the train.
I missed it, man. I missed it. I could be enjoying Fallout 76.
No,
right now.
I've played it. You wouldn't enjoy it.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
Chad.
Kind of got the Chad beard going on right now.
Yeah. So
Fuck
stupid.
them. That's what I say.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. So anyway, that is the end of the show, guys and gals. We are at the 2 hour and 30-minute mark. This has been an absolutely fantastic show. Make sure you guys like the video if you guys haven't already. If you haven't chat, if you're live here right now, and there's more of you in chat than there are likes, and it just drives me crazy. No, but I appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate all the comments and all the discussions and all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I think it was a pretty damn good one. What do you think, Mark?
I think it was pretty good show. Like I said, I gotta go to work tonight, but when I get home, I'll look at getting that server together for Palworld and posting it in Discord. So if you're not already joined to the Discord, join the Discord.
When do you stop like this stuff, this whole this weird work schedule? Because it's like really weird that like I'm not working and I actually play with you less than when I was working.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, it's going to
Let's
work.
Talk about that.
Going to work at 2 a.m. blows.
Yeah, poor guy.
And then I get home and I'm like, okay, I'll try to stay awake. And by the time I get home, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning for you. So you're still in bed, dreaming sweet little dreams. And then so I'm like, okay, I'll stay up till noon. Maybe you'll be up by 10. And I'm like, and then I'm out.
There's just little Todd Howards, jumping sheep around my head while I'm sleeping. You know what I mean?
Kicking land balls all over the place.
Yeah, I keep kicking land balls up getting my Lambo. I'm gonna get my Lambo after this stream. I'll tell you right now. Make sure that you guys have joined the Discord. By the way, I haven't really talked about this too much, but I would like to make sure that I make a proper announcement about it. We do actually now have a Patreon for the YouTube channel. If you guys would like to support the YouTube channel going forward, helps me be able to make more content and continue to be able to do this as a full-time kind of thing, which is kind of what I'm aiming to do right now. I'm taking a few months of not working, and I'm trying to give it a full-time shot. See if I can pull it off. So, and if I can't, then I'm gonna do that whole thing. So if you guys would like to support the channel, Patreon link down below. A couple more videos are gonna be coming out next week. I got about 2 or 3 planned. A couple streams as well. Monday, I don't know if I'm doing a stream on Monday or not. I have to look. Probably. No, I'm editing. I'm editing tonight and posting on Monday. Video comes out on Monday. I might stream on Monday. I haven't made a full decision about that just yet. Don't hold me to that, okay? Outside of that, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I've only got to do this for about another 7 or 8 weeks. So if you ever come to the podcast and you just see my feet dangling at the top of the camera, you'll know what happened. So
yeah. Jesus.
Jesus. Did that get dark? Yeah, okay.
Videos on Palworld and Dragon's Dogma 2 coming next week. Maybe something else if I find something spicy. Outside of that, my friends, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, and most of all, we will see you in the next podcast. What the fuck is wrong with you? That actually makes you look creepy as shit.
I need hair plugs.
You need a lot of things, actually. I don't know exactly, like, you're making it worse. You literally just aged yourself like 20 years. You look like the creepy grandpa that's like outside of Walmart or outside of like, if
I keep doing that, I'm gonna shit myself.
House of Pancakes, and has been like probably using a little bit of, meth.
A little bit.
Anyway, have a good week, guys. Peace.